Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode, I don't even know, of the Far Off Films podcast. I'm Captain Kilgore from the channel The Walrus Man, and I'm still stuck in Saigon. Who else is here with me?
Paul Atreides from
Mardia Productions.
from Tim Cham's video game YouTube channel. Yeah, Mardia Productions. Yeah.
And I'm Floopy Doopy. And my voice is gone, but you know what still works? My sense of smell. And we love the smell of far off films in the morning. What's good, everybody?
Wow. You sacrificed your voice for that joke.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. I came up with that right now on the spot. I did
You sound
that
like you're gonna cry.
whistling.
Yeah, you sound like a person who's going through lung cancer.
Yeah,
Smoking.
I've been playing well, actually, I haven't been playing much games. But yesterday, I was able to hop on and actually function again as a person. So I played some games with my friend, and I'm a very unserious person when it comes to playing games. But because of my voice, I sounded like I was taking everything so seriously. I was like, there's one there, there's one there. I sound like about to have a meltdown every time when I'm giving call outs and stuff.
Rainbow Six Siege gets serious when you've lost your voice.
Yeah, my Rainbow Six, I was like, bandit, you gotta go trick, dude. Yeah.
Oh my god, we lost.
I feel like for some games though, you gotta have to be super serious though, because
You have to
I've
be
been
a sweat.
replaying God of War on the hardest difficulty, and I swear to God, I work up a sweat every time I have to play those kinds of games on the hardest difficulty. Yeah, it's like when you play Dark Souls for the first time. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ! I gotta take a break from
when I
this.
was playing-
I don't know if you guys know this about me. I have 100% completed achievements and the game of Cuphead.
Oh
I think
my
that's
goodness.
my biggest achievement.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I
That is impressive.
I have
yeah.
fully completed that game, back to front.
How long did that take?
Let me go check my Steam. I think 100 hours or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not easy. That takes a
Yeah.
long time.
Okay, well, I have 100-ish hours on Cuphead, but not all of that was on the one save. So
Damn.
maybe 70 hours.
Jesus Christ, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, I was gonna say, when I used to play, I need to get back into it somehow. But when I used to play Medieval 2 Total War, which is my second favorite game of all time, I was a mega sweat at commanding battles. I took that shit so seriously. That shit was life. Yeah, I pretty much was. I was move horses, move.
Luke, I wanted to ask, do you 100% Pokemon games, or do you just stop after you beat the Elite Four?
I've 100%ed Soul Silver. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so did I. Yeah, but I'm just saying for some of the older games, after you beat say Fire Red and Leaf Green, you're just expected to catch every single Pokemon ever, and I'm just I don't give a shit. I don't want to do that shit.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I've caught every single Pokemon on Violet, Red and Leaf Green. Yeah.
Including the other starters. That doesn't seem possible.
Well, on a ROM hack, you can only do so much. Yeah, obviously I can't do that, but you can just hack them in actually. So yeah, I have technically done it.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but whatever. Anyway, I guess we could talk about Dune, the sand movie. I
Yeah.
guess because this is probably going to be a long discussion. What do y'all think? I thought it was great. I liked the new Dune. Very sandy, very dry. Very no. It's like the opposite of Avatar. It's like the opposite of wet. It was very dry, and I'll get into my deeper thoughts. But I guess for me, I liked this one more than the first one because and for me, the first one was just a lot of setup and a lot of build up and just I mean, that's just all it was. It was build up and set up, and that was it. Like there were like a couple of like satisfying action scenes, but like it was mostly just building up to the shit that happens in this movie. Not to say the movie was like bad or anything. I still like part one of Dune, but in this one, like it actually feels like things are happening now. Like we're actually getting payoffs and like conclusions to things that we set up in the first Dune. You know, I felt like Tim Cham's character was actually like going somewhere now, and like there was actually going in a direction where I find interesting. I haven't read any of the books, but I'm like vaguely familiar with like what happens to Paul by like the end of like Dune Messiah or whatever. And that seems like where the character is heading anyway in these movies. I liked Javier Bardem's character a lot. I thought he was fun. I thought Austin Butler's character yeah, I thought Austin Butler's character was a lot of fun. I keep forgetting his name. It was like Ray Raid Rotha. Yeah, that's it. He was a lot of fun. I liked Zendaya's character a lot. I thought she was a lot of fun. It's just like a lot of the characters are really fun in this one. Like the characters in the first film that I thought were kind of boring and bland are like actually like fun and entertaining to watch now. So you know that was like a really nice revelation and shit. And just in general, like it felt very well paced. Like I was very rarely bored throughout any moment throughout the film. Like I was constantly entertained from beginning to end. And for a movie that's this long, I think that's a really good thing. So yeah, those are just my initial thoughts.
I really liked the first Dune. Uh, I should say as well that the the book Dune by Frank Herbert is like an incredible. It's one of my favorite books. It's influenced me a lot in the way I write and stuff. Um, it was my favorite book for like many years until I read Blood Meridian, and so I thought the first Dune,
Yeah,
yeah,
Cormac McCarthy.
and I thought the first Dune was like
Mhm.
a really good adaptation of it. I quite enjoyed it. This one though, no. Um, as strange as I was hoping that I would like it. I was expecting to like it even, but I found myself disagreeing.
Considering that the whole world likes it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going crazy these past like month. I swear to God. Um, but I did not.
Did you not like the movie because it was like so different from the second half of the book, or did you just not like it like as its own movie?
I mean, I think it's just like it doesn't work as an adaptation, and it just makes the film lesser in general. Like the choices it makes like detract from the
Okay.
story, which makes it a weaker movie overall. Like even if it wasn't like a book adaptation.
You'll need to tell me all these things because like I said, I've never read the
Yeah.
book, so I would like to at some point, but I've never read them. Yeah, you'll have to tell me all about that.
Yeah, there's a lot that like because I don't know if you knew this, but Dune is is famously very detailed. That's why it's taken so long for like this kind of adaptation to be put to the screen, because it's kind of like this is like one of those texts like that you can't lick, because it's just like how do you compress all of this into a movie, and it's like I think even this doesn't do it well, because like the way that Denis Villeneuve like has like cut out certain stuff from the book, which I think fundamentally misunderstands the stuff with Paul's character, like because I don't know if you knew this, but the part two takes place over 9 months, right? In the book it takes place over 2 to 3 years basically. And I think compressing that was a really bad idea.
Okay.
Because they have to take out story elements because of it. Like, my biggest problem with the film that I think it really annoyed me, and I don't see why that there was any reason to do this, was in the book that Paul and Chani have a child, like Leto the Second, and then that child then gets killed when the Harkonnens like bomb the Siege Tabor, and it's like a really impactful moment for Paul, where it's like he basically, after that, he like has to grapple with like the death of his child and like the feelings that like another member of his family has been killed, basically, and then that really hardens him, and he basically permits the jihad, and that's when he drinks the water of life. But I think just like the way that's executed, where there's just like it doesn't have their child because they put it over 9 months, is like it doesn't work, because then it's just like it seems like one scene after the other, he just kind of is like, okay, I'm all cool with this. Never mind. I'll just go to the south and take the water of life, and then it just there should be like a natural progression to it. It felt to me like not as bad, but it's just like it reminded me a lot of the way like Daenerys in Game of Thrones, like season 8, just kind of turned evil all of a sudden, and it's like,
oh wow,
no, it's not that bad, but it's like that maybe that's a bit far, but that's what it was giving me kind of reminders of. Ian, yeah, I think that,
because I was going, I thought like going in that like when you mention all these things, it's like, oh, it's like when like Lord of the Rings like book fans were like mad because Tom Bombadil wasn't in like the movies or whatever. I thought it was gonna be like some shit like that, but like this seems like an important plot point that I confused why they cut that.
I know
out.
It's like a pivotal moment for his character and for their relationship, in fact, as well, because it's like after that point in the movie, it's just like their relationship was just kind of like, oh, we're not getting on now, and that's it. And then
I also agree that like Jules said in the book, that it takes over like the span of a few years, because like that was something that I did feel about the movie as well, is that like the whole ending climax kind of just felt a bit rushed. Like,
I mean, it's
like,
kind of,
that was supposed to be a whole thing, and then like it kind of just happened like within the blink of an eye. I don't know, like
I mean, that's kind of meant to be intended.
It didn't feel like something like. Is that meant to be intended?
Yeah, because it's most you don't see the battle in the you don't really see the battle in the book, because the whole thing was just meant to be like it was kind of really easy in the end. Like they just kind of storm in, capture the emperor and all that, and then that's it. Like, and then they do all the.
Okay. I assumed it was like an intentional choice.
There's a lot more negotiation, basically, instead of battles. Although there is battles, but it would mostly take place, I guess.
Yeah, I just feel like in a film where like the giant climax involves like 3 ginormous fucking worms and a whole siege on like a whole faction in this big universe, like there should be like some more oomph in it, you know? There should be like some more and that's what I was enjoying from the. Oh, by the way, I guess I can give my brief thoughts. I don't like Dune 1. I kind of think it's a really boring ass movie. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's kind of a snore fest. I don't care about anything that happened in that movie.
Everyone can be wrong sometimes.
Timmy and you, Jules, were like listing everyone's names and like the places earlier. I do not remember a single person's name from Dune. I don't even remember Timothée Chalamet's character. I don't remember one person's name. Paul. Why is his name Paul? Everyone else's name is like Bararakas or some shit, and his name is just Paul. That's funny.
Well, anyways, Luca, remind me what the main character's name of Star Wars is.
Oh yeah, fucking Luke. That's also dumb. And thank you for bringing that up, because I also don't like Star Wars. I just am not a fan of like these big, ginormous political space movies. Like they just don't sit with me. And that's the specific subgenre I was looking for when, like, in I don't know how many episodes back, where we were talking about genres of movies that don't click with us. It's not space movies that I don't like. It's fantasy, sci-fi, space odyssey, political dramas that I don't like.
You don't like 2001?
I don't like Star Trek. I don't like fucking Star Wars. I don't like Dune. I'm sorry. This shit doesn't fuck with me. I haven't seen 2001 in ages, but I'll have to see if I still like it. But yeah,
Yes, Dune is kind of like Star Wars.
It
I never really
is.
thought
It
about like
literally
that.
is.
Yeah.
George Lucas
Yeah.
took like a lot of
it was
that. Like
it was
the,
one of the
yeah.
biggest.
if you think of like the
inspirations.
voice and the Jedi mind trick. Like,
Yeah.
It was like the Force, and I wouldn't be surprised if like
Yeah,
Tatooine
of
and
course.
like
He took-
the
he took,
Tusken
like, a lot
Raiders
of
were like
inspiration
inspired
from it.
by all this shit. yeah.
Okay, but despite all my thoughts on the first Dune movie and how mid I think it is, I did like this one more.
Oh my.
However, I still think it's far from my kind of thing. I don't think it's the top 10 best movie on the planet.
Yeah, it shouldn't be in the fucking.
I'm sorry,
whatever
guys.
the fuck it is.
Yeah, it's in like in the top. It's on like it's like numbered like 8 or something like that on like Letterboxd's top 250. I'm like, this is just fucking IMDb like all
Yeah.
over again. It's like
I liked
I thought
it.
the purpose of this site it was to not do that. So,
I liked it, but only
Well, there's porn bots on
marginally better
Letterboxd
than
now,
the
so-
first Dune movie.
yeah.
But yeah, I like Dune 2. I think it was far more satisfying and cinematic, and there were more moments that hooked me in. But yeah, like it still is just really not my type of thing. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I will let you guys take the floor because I literally don't give a rat's ass about Dune. So yeah.
Yeah, I want to make clear though, like how the way that like, I don't think Jules like your love for the book like is affecting your enjoyment of the movie. I don't think that's
Yeah,
like
no.
a inherently bad like way of approaching the movie at all. Like that's how I feel the exact same way about something like say. Like I don't know, like Watchmen or something. Like I love the graphic novel like to death, and then it's partly why I fucking hate that movie so much. So I don't like. I'm not trying to invalidate your viewpoint
I know.
or whatever.
Don't
But it for me, no. But for me, I just feel like okay. Like I agree. Like from what you've been telling me about like the things like Paul and Chani's like baby dying and all that other shit, like that would have been cool, and I would have loved to have seen that. It would have made Paul's character arc that much stronger.
Zendaya's
But I don't
character's
know.
named Johnny.
I guess Villeneuve had a reason to cut it. I guess I don't know.
I don't
but
think
like,
he did,
but I liked
though.
for the most part what it was going for. Didn't do what?
I don't see the reason
Didn't
why
cut
he
it,
had to
or-
cut that plot point. Like genuinely.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I really don't know. But like, from what we got, like there were, I guess like what I really love about the movie is like the narrative for sure. But like, I think I'm also thinking my love for the film is just purely from like the visuals as well, because I can like distinctly remember a lot of scenes from this movie. Like I still remember to fucking date like that Getty Prime like gladiator like
Great
fight or
scene.
whatever, where like they're using like infrared cameras where like everything's like this weird like black and white like filter or some shit like that, and then to see like Austin Butler like screaming like the Wojak meme or whatever, like I really loved that section.
Yeah,
That was really really cool. And the fights were really cool as well.
I think the opening is
My
really
favorite-
I just
great.
love that character in general.
Yeah.
The opening is really
Like
great.
that shot
yeah.
of them like
just all
floating
the
up the
action
mountain.
scenes I think
thought that
were
looked
fantastic
really
in the
good.
movie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think my favorite bit was
when it
that
ended.
like kind of first siege on the yeah, when the credits were rolling I could go. No, yeah, like I really like the like when they shoot down that ship and like the music drops. That was
Good
cool.
Mm.
Yeah, and I did like that black and white stuff. And the ending knife battle also has some satisfying moments. Yeah, like the action and like stuff is pretty good. But yeah, I think I was just lost. And like, I just wasn't really into it. Like, I did like Rebecca Ferguson.
I was lost just purely because it was a lot of like new like terms and like
Wait till you read the
lore
book.
shit that I wasn't familiar with. So like, yeah, so like the jihad was just them like drinking the blue
Fortnite
water
shield
thing, right? Like
potion.
I didn't know what they were talking about every time they mentioned that. Okay, yeah, I didn't know if that was the same thing or not.
That's another
or-
thing as well.
So you'll need to.
That's another thing as well, that the shit with like the water of life, the bit where he drinks it, the bit where he's unconscious, he's unconscious for like 3 weeks instead of just like a day, but that scene was like. But by the way, did you guys notice the Anya Taylor-Joy cameo in that bit?
No,
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I saw she was on like a red carpet shit or whatever, so that was already spoiled
Yeah.
for me. I was like, oh, I guess Anya
I'm pissed that
Taylor-Joy's
Tim
in this
Blake
movie.
Nelson
So-
had his scenes cut. I'm like, what the fuck? Because he was meant to be in the film. He's thanked in the credits.
Tim Blake Nelson.
I don't know what his character was.
Oh,
but
I didn't know that.
I'm pissed that they cut his scenes. Maybe he was like Count Fenring or Hurrah or someone. Yeah, the Water of Life scene was really frustrating to me because like to really go. The consequence of that scene is that Paul becomes like he's able to like bridge the gap between space and time, and he's seeing like every single future and past like all simultaneously, and it becomes like really hard for him to become like grounded in like reality, which kind of in the books aids his kind of the shit that happens to him later on that turns out not so great is like a direct consequence of that. That scene should have been terrifying. It should have been like the most like psychedelic thing imaginable. Like make Climax or like Into the Void look like baby shit. Like it was kind of just seemed like he just drank it and then he wound up on the beach talking to Aaliyah Atreides, and then it was like, okay, like the effect that has on him like is like super important, and it's just like he gets the blue eyes and kind of just becomes like a very wise kind of person. But really I think it's just like it should have been like really just terrifying, like emotional moment, like stretching, becoming like really surrealistic. And that's another thing as well. I really hated the way that they dealt with Aaliyah Atreides, by the way, is of course the child inside Rebecca Ferguson's tummy.
Okay, I was gonna say like I don't know who you're talking about.
'cause
Like
she-
thank you for clarifying.
You've seen the Lynch
that,
film, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I like barely remember anything about
she's
it.
she's like, so when like Jessica Rebecca Ferguson drinks the water of life, she's pregnant with that child, and then that child becomes imbued with the water of life, which they kind of show in that scene, but it causes it to become like to be born really fast, and then it ages up really fast, so it's like a super hyper intelligent like child, and she's like really horrified that she unintentionally did this to her kid. There's none of that fucking like we must convert the weak-minded and vulnerable shit. Like she's actually goes through like a very emotional struggle at how she has to like deal with this kid now, and then that kid is Aaliyah Atreides is then like captured by the Harkonnens, and then she's the one that actually she's in the throne room when the Emperor arrives, and she's the one that kills Baron Harkonnen, which then if they are obviously setting her up.
Wait, hold on. What? Sorry, you gotta go. Let's take a step back, because you confused me. Wait, hold on. So this kid, when she's birthed, becomes a fast-growing super baby who can go back in time and do the things that Paul did.
No.
Sorry, that made no sense.
She's born. She
shit.
ages up super fast, and then she gets captured by the Harkonnens, and then she's the one so she's there in when the Emperor arrives on Arrakis in like the throne room and stuff, and then she kills Baron Harkonnen.
Oh, so in the book she's already born is what. So in the book she's already born is what you're saying.
Yeah. She gets born like midway through the story.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Because I was like, why? Wait, why are you including her in the? She wasn't in part 2, but then I remember, yeah, okay, all this. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Oh, okay, so it's her that kills,
and then that kind of like it sets off her arc
Paul,
in what I'm assuming is going to be the next in Messiah, where she becomes like really haunted over having killed the Baron, and then like the Baron's spirit kind of like possesses her and like kind of drives her mad, and she kind of infuses with his spirit, and like some fucked up shit really happens. So it's like, how is her character arc gonna be like done then if she wasn't even the one to kill him, which is like sets off her whole character and like changes the course of her entire life. It's like a defining moment for her, like when she kills her like, what's the word of her uncle, basically. Yeah,
that's interesting. I never thought about it like that.
It's like,
man, how are they going to do her character then? Because if that's like the direction her character goes, then what exactly are you going to do with her? It makes it so that
if you make Paul kill... in the part 2, Jessica has like nothing to do, so they give her this like, oh, we're gonna when she becomes the Reverend Mother, she's like, oh, we need to convert the weak-minded and believable, and she has this like, oh my god, this shit pissed me off so much. She had the relationship with Chani where she like, they basically just like, Chani was like, I don't like you. In the books, they have the most beautiful relationship ever, like where it's just like they kind of confide in each other and like find comfort in each other. The fact that they're both concubines of like great men, and then in the last, when Paul is like at the end is like to the Emperor, I will wed the Princess Irulan, she'll be my wife. Like Chani gets upset, and then like Jessica comes over to her and was like, she's gonna be, she'll be forgotten in the history books mostly, but you and I will be remembered as wives. And then Paul has this like beautiful thing where he says to her like, that woman is like my wife in like name only, and I will be dedicated only ever to you. And they fucking took that shit out. Like he says that before he duels Feyd-Rautha, and then she gets mad and like leaves to go out into the desert. She never does that in the book. And I was that ending, the ending bit was just like really, 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 really annoying me. Like it's such a weird fundamental misunderstanding of like the story. And also sorry, I'm just gonna keep ranting about that ending scene. The bit where
no, go ahead. Yeah, go
the
ahead.
bit where what are you laughing at?
Yeah.
Being a literary nerd. And also the bit where they downplayed the amount of like power that Paul has, like, because like one of the ending is like where he says like, lead them to paradise, because the great houses are like, we don't accept you as emperor. In the book they do, because like they downplay the sheer amount of power that he has, where he's like, because the threat to like bomb the spice fields is like, I don't know if this was like really made clear, because they got rid of the navigating guild in the movie as well, where it's like, if the spice is so essential to like basically every society in the galaxy, like for interstellar travel, for everything, basically it powers everything. So it's like, if he were to destroy the spice fields with the atomics, like he would bring every society to like ruin, like instantly, basically. Like they would be fucked. And so of course they concede because he's too powerful, and then the fighting happens like later in between books, when he's like the hint, the implication is like that the Fremen jihad is like spreading beyond his control already, like that there's never any moment where he says like, lead them to paradise, and they start like loading up onto the ships to like get ready for war like instantly. It's like, it actually, the fighting comes later, when his like rule has been like properly secured, and the houses then feel secure enough that they're able to rebel. They don't rebel right away. because he's like a fucking scary space Hitler with like a gigantic army and like the power to destroy the thing that they need the most.
When you say they rebel, you're talking
The
about
other
like the other
houses.
houses, right? You're not talking about like
Yeah,
the
no,
Fremen
not the
or
Fremen.
whatever. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, that is interesting. Like all the shit you're saying, it does make me reconsider. Maybe I don't like this as much as I thought I did, because there's all this interesting
Yeah.
shit that would have made the movie more interesting. I mean, that being said, that doesn't really change how I feel about like this version of the second half of Dune, if that makes sense. But like, yeah, that is kind of interesting, because like, I guess like for me, I like I said, it's when I watch something like Lord of the Rings, and I've actually read the books for those movies. Like, there's a ton of like things that they cut out
Yeah,
or things that
and
they
they're better.
change, but I always felt like it's for the better, because Tolkien is the type of writer who just like will spend like hours upon hours on describing like the wrinkles on tree
Yeah.
bark, but then be like, oh wait, I forgot to advance the plot.
Yeah, that's the battle
like,
scenes
so,
of
like,
Lord of the Rings are
things
like
like
the
that
least
make
detailed
sense.
bits of the books.
Yeah, because like no, he doesn't give a shit about that. It's why like the Battle of the Five Armies is like 6
It's 2
pages in the
pages.
entire Hobbit book, but in the movie, even less than I thought. Yeah, 2 pages, but it's a whole ass movie in the fucking Hobbit movies. Um, so like with something like Lord of the Rings, like it makes sense because you're cutting out like I'm not going to call it unnecessary detail, because I actually like learning about all this shit, but like for the sake of like a cinematic experience, like, yeah, you need to cut stuff like this, for the sake of advancing the plot. But like for something like Dune, in this instance, from all the things that you're saying, it feels like it sounds like less like we're just cutting like extra lore details that like only nerds would care about and, wouldn't really advance the plot, and more just like changes to the plot because Villeneuve just felt like it, I guess. Like that seems like what you're describing, and if that's the case,
I think it's
then,
just
like,
mostly down to the fact that it's just
yeah,
like
then-
this is like whether you like it or not. This is an uncrackable novel. Like no matter how you slice it, even if you divide it into 2 movies, which like does seem to be the natural solution. Obviously, it's like you still have to like take things out. Like
there's still too much
like,
detail.
Like the stuff that I understand,
Yeah.
they can cut out like Count Fenring and like stuff like that. Like and like the Gady Prime stuff is like there's a lot more of that in the book. But like, it's just like I really just disagree with how he does it. Like, I think the how did you feel about like the kind of religious debate of the film?
Religious debate in terms of what? Like each like Fremen having their own like opinion about like whether or not Paul's the savior or not. I thought that was interesting. Like from what I understand, that's not in the book, right? Like there isn't like a cultural divide amongst the Fremen.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
about
there's
like
not
whether
like
or not
there's
he's
not
the
like
Messiah or
northern and
something.
southern Fremen, which is weird. But, like I don't understand why it's like.
I liked that. I liked how for me, like I actually liked that because it really because I feel like with a lot of like sci-fi movies like this, like when you have like a race of people, they all just tend to believe in the same shit, which I just don't find believable whatsoever. And so I actually like the fact that like there's an actual like cultural and religious divide amongst like the Fremen, where it's like we might be fighting for the same thing, but we don't believe in the same thing, Like, and it's why I liked the scene with Paul when he's like doing his like weird speech shit, his Hitler speech thing or whatever, like of unite, like because like that because he already has the support of like what was Javier Bardem's character's name, Stilgar or something.
I'll get onto that.
Some. Skill, yeah, he already has the support of those people, but he also like convinces like the Southern Fremen or whatever, like basically the skeptics that like, oh wait, this guy might be for real, like this guy might actually be the Messiah that we've been waiting for, which I think is like a really strong contrast to what they said in the first Dune, when like all those people were like when House Atreides first arrives to Arrakis. And you have all those people like chanting Savior or Messiah. I keep forgetting what the word they specifically used. But like I think it was like Jessica who said something on the lines of they're they're just there because they have to be there. Like like this is like a belief that was instilled by like both the Harkonnens and like the Bene Gesserit and shit like that. But I like how like that actually comes back into fruition, where it's like, oh, Paul could be the Messiah, and like now he's convinced even like the skeptics that he's basically convinced everyone except Chani, who because I guess they fucked and Chani has a fourth eye or some shit or whatever, third eye. But I do like how like I did like that one. I mean, it's not like a single plot, but just like it's part of the plot. I really loved how, even though like there were signs that like Paul is the Messiah, like Jessica still felt the desire to basically cheat, like basically like still manipulate things in a way that like reinforces Paul to become the Messiah even more. I thought that was like a really interesting character development for her, because like in the first movie she's just kind of like the I'll support my son's dreams, whatever, like I'm there for my son, and I guess she's still kind of the same way, but just like maxed out to like 11 evil, where like she becomes this religious she basically becomes an evil. She basically almost becomes like the main Bene Gesserit lady, who I thought was Helen Mirren for the longest time until I realized it wasn't Helen Mirren. Like she almost becomes like a mirror of her, where like she becomes very cold and like distant from people, and like she only cares about Paul, but she cares about Paul to an extent that like she cares about like the power and like God like reign that he can bring to like both Dune and like the galaxy. Like she's like basically thinking more like a Bene Gesserit than like an actual mother. And so I thought that was an interesting character arc / change for her. Which is why I wasn't really like all these things you were talking about how like Chani and Jessica are actually close. Like, yeah, that would have been cool to see, but I actually did like where they went with their relationship in this movie as well. Like, I thought them being so cold and distant also made sense within the context of this movie, because you have to keep in mind that Jessica does a lot of awful shit both to the Fremen community and to Paul. So like, yeah, obviously, like, why the fuck would Zendaya like her? Like, it makes zero sense as to why they would have this, like, friendly relationship. So, like, I actually liked where that went. Even though that from what you say, from what you're saying is different from how it's portrayed in the books. And just I liked a lot of things. I liked how. Fuck, what is
Fade
Austin
Rotha.
Butler's character name again? I keep forgetting. It's so stupid. Fade Rotha, that was it, yeah. I love how he's like kind of like both a fuckboy but also like an incel. Because that one Bene Gesserit character played by
Leia
what's
Sado.
her face? Leia Sado. Yeah, like I like how she like basically like is like, oh, let's bang and have a child or whatever, but we're also gonna do the handbox thing that we did to Paul earlier. It's basically like the freakiest sex situation ever, and I'm just like, damn, I wish there was like an X-rated version of this, because I would have loved to have seen that shit. But I liked that for the character as well. Like, I love how like he's this sort of like pompous, arrogant, like proud, like warrior type character, but he's also like an incel, because like he immediately like wants to fuck Leia Sadu's character and shit. Like, I thought that was interesting. That was really fun, and I liked that. So. Yeah, like a lot of this stuff, like I'm sure is better expanded upon in the book. I'm sure a lot of this stuff is like has more details or like is different, where it's like it's better that way or something. I'm sure, but like within the context of this movie, I liked everything that was happening, especially when you think about it from the perspective of part one, because I love how like in the first Dune, the Baron is this like also like a Hitler villain or whatever. He's this like he's a big bad guy, like I still distinctly remember his catchphrase, like my Arrakis, what was it? My desert, my Arrakis, my Dune, while he goes creative mode. Like that was like that's still like very frightening to watch. But then like you contrast that with like near the end of the movie where he's like rolling around and he's like struggling to get up because he's this
because he literally can't
he's this
be,
big fat fuck
he
who
can't
like
be
can't stand up on
supported,
his
by
own.
his own weight.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, and it's like it's really like funny to like contrast that. So
yeah, I mean, it's
um,
just like he's always like kind of been like a he's basically just like a schemer, and like that's it. But it's like when he actually like faces the emperor, he's just like a very kind of small man. But that's another thing as well. It's like the kind of political complexity of the movie is like very very toned down. And it's like because like the reason is like the emperor says like a line that's like I killed your father because he was weak, and which is such a weird just compression of of like he was gaining influence with the other houses and loosening my grip on power and training more men among his armies. It's a very weird compression of that.
from what I understand, like when Christopher Walken's character said that, I was like, from what I understand about the books, and this is different from the movie, like they portray House Atreides as this some fucking like lawful good like house or whatever, but like from what I understand in the books, like it's more complicated than that. Like they're more like
it's like
political or something
scheming.
like that. So I always found that weird.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was weird, but yeah, I guess that is like something I will complain about, that like for a sci-fi movie that's all about like gray morality, I think it's really weird to portray the Atreides as the lawful good house, and then like the Harkonnens as like the lawful evil house. Because from what I understand about
the Harkonnens wanted to overthrow the emperor.
Were left on my
like they were hoping that that when they would be able to take control of the spice fields again, that there would be enough wounded like Sardaukar basically that they would be able to like seize control when they wanted. Like there was no scenario
like,
where the emperor had already lost, like by the time the story had began, like in part 1. Like it was either going to be like the Atreides or the Harkonnens were going to come out on top. Like he had already lost basically.
it seemed like where things were going, you know, because like I thought the whole point of the opening monologue, I guess it's not a monologue, it's just like a couple of sentences where the Baron is like, when is a gift not a gift? The Emperor is a jealous man, a dangerous jealous man, or something like that. Like, and I thought that would like come back, but like I guess they kind of did, but they also kind of didn't. Like I was just like, wait, what? Like, like, and I guess I didn't really get that impression from Christopher Walken. Like I don't know what direction Denis Villeneuve gave him, but like he just seemed less like this like spiteful like jealous emperor type who wanted to hold on to his power, and just more like Christopher Walken. So it's just like I don't really I don't know that. I mean, I liked him in the movie, but it's like all this like context that I'm thinking of, where it's like, man, they really didn't follow through on that, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
but
going back to what I was originally trying to get to with the religious debate was just like, I didn't like just kind of how because they needed to have this debate, that they kind of just co-opted like certain characters as like mouthpieces basically, and it just really didn't work for their characters. Like Chani was just like an anti-religious mouthpiece, and like what they did to Stilgar's character, where he just believes in it so much, and it's like there's the bit where he's just going like kill me more deep, kill me so you can take my place, and then you can speak. That takes place over like several chapters where there's this like genuine tension between them, because they're actually friends. Like there's this great line that's like, I have seen a friend become like a follower, basically, where there's like this tension where he's like, is he gonna have to kill him, like, and he doesn't want to, but he wants him to, basically, to be able to speak, and it causes like tension in their relationship. But then it's just like, no. Like the level of like fanaticism that he's at, like in the last in like the last chapter is where he's at the whole movie, basically. And it's just like the riffing and stuff, like the Fremen kind of have, like where they're just like kind of making fun of him, is like a rare weird contrast to how like very just like really like uptight and like militaristic basically and fanatical that they are in the book, which is how they've kind of survived so long, because they have like discipline to kind of power the desert. They're like a really like you have it in the first movie, like the first scene that he's in is like in the first movie with Stilgar is like a kind of good representation of like how the Fremen are, where it's like they're kind of very uptight, disciplined people. So it's like yeah, I don't really like the debate, because I guess I don't know why they really wanted to put it in the film, I guess, so like they didn't want to be seen as like Orientalist or something, like if they didn't put
They wanted to please the r/atheism.
Yeah, they didn't like
they
put
wanted
the,
to please
this
the
shit in like the foreground basically,
subreddit.
so like they kind of just like
Yeah.
I guess if it was just like if that was intended kind of, I guess, to make the Fremen like more kind of nuanced and like complex, I think the compressed timeline kind of really works against that, because it's like it takes Paul in like a few months to become a Fremen. Like anyone could do that, when in the book it takes him like 3 years. And yeah, it's just I was not a fan of that kind of angle of it. Like the way that it's like a melting pot between like northern and southern Fremen, as if like they're all not really from like the same place, like yeah, as if it's like local Fremen meet immigrant Fremen or something in like this one siege. Like
it's the current U.S. political system, but with Fremen instead of political parties. Yeah, I will concede on you on that point, because I feel like for me, on the one hand, I did like how you could see Paul's relationship with the Fremens change throughout the film, because it starts out as like contentment, but then it becomes like friendship and collaboration, and like they're good buddies. But then like now it becomes like his followers, like he's just like they're not friends anymore. They're just like he's the Jesus type, and they're his followers, they're his disciples or whatever. But I feel like for me though, I would have found that more satisfying if that took place over a longer period of time, like you said, because I feel like because of the fact I didn't realize how long the movie was, like within the context of the film. I honestly thought it took place over a year, but then when you mentioned it took place over 9 months, I was like, oh, okay, that's even less time than I thought. It kind of makes his actions like not as like important or as valuable as the film claims it. Because like think about it like this, like what if like in Star Wars, for example, like Luke just becomes a Jedi Master by like the end of like A New Hope? Like that would fucking suck, because that wouldn't make any of the
I mean, to be honest, the
scenes,
original
like,
trilogy like
afterwards,
takes
like,
place over like a
satisfying
few
at
days
all,
basically,
you know? Okay, yeah, that's fair, I guess, but like like
yeah,
but
I get
still,
what
it's
you're
just
saying.
I think like for me, yeah, you get what I'm saying, but yeah, like part of what makes the original trilogy satisfying and like Luke's character arc satisfying is that it all takes place over like within the span. It's not a couple of days now that I think about it. It's like it's years. It takes place over a couple of years, and like you can see Luke gradually become. Yeah, I guess that's what I meant. I know what you mean when you say like a couple of days that then they just happen like on a month. Like Empire probably just happened on like on a Monday or something. Yeah. But like still, like with Luke's character, like you can see his character gradually become stronger and stronger and like fulfill this like space messiah Jesus figure type. But I feel like with this, like it has like, because it all takes place in one movie, I feel like it kind of devalues a lot of the supposed messianic actions that he takes in the film, because if it took place like throughout both movies, like let's say like he started like all this Fremen, half of this Fremen shit happened in the first film, like I feel like it would make a lot of his like actions that he's taking now like more satisfying if he was you know, if there was more build up to everything, if there was more time to space everything out. But again, like at the same time though, this is like these are two like 2.5 hour movies. Like even with that 5 hour combined runtime, you still don't have enough time to tell everything, which is why like I'm sure
That's why it
like,
doesn't seem. That's why
I'm
it doesn't
sure,
seem
like,
so
if this
ludicrous
film,
anymore that like
if this
Alejandro
entire
Jodorowsky wanted like a 9-hour runtime. Like there's like a point where it's like, oh, maybe he like
yeah,
wasn't
it
too
like
like insane for that.
yeah, because like when I saw that documentary, I was like, man, a 9-hour Dune movie, like that sounds like bullshit. Like that just sounds like
Now you
your
know he's
heads
onto
up your own
something.
ass. But now that within the context of these movies, yeah, now he's like, yeah, maybe you were onto something, man. Maybe you were right. So, which is why like. I feel like for me, I don't know. You can disagree with me if you want. I feel like telling the story would be better if like as like a mini series or something. Like if they had like a Game of Thrones like level
Yeah,
budget
I
or
mean there was a
something
mini
to
series that
tell
tried
this
it
like
in like the year 2000,
story. That would
but I don't think it ever had like anything very
yeah, but it
big.
was on like the fucking Sci-Fi
Yeah,
Channel.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was on the fucking Sci-Fi Channel. It was never gonna be good. Like it's on the Sci-Fi Channel. But I'm just saying like I'm saying like a Game of Thrones HBO
Yeah.
style production. Like I'm sure that would have done it justice for something like
That
this.
does seem
But
the most natural solution.
whatever. Warner Brothers just really they wanted another Lord of the Rings. They wanted another franchise to milk, and I guess they got it because this movie like is doing very well. It's like what like it passed 500 mil like last time I checked or
Yeah.
something. So good on them, I guess.
Honestly, I don't think Denis Villeneuve should step in the writer's room again. I think he works at his best when he's like doing like other people's scripts, like Blade Runner and like Prisoners and like Sicario and stuff. I think when he does his own writing, that's when he tends to slip up in his like style, which is like a lot of my inherent problems with this movie like lay with the writing and stuff.
I mean, Denis Villeneuve doesn't even give a shit
Yeah,
about writing. Like
exactly.
he straight up like what was
Yeah,
that
where he's
interview
like, I
he
don't
said,
care
where it's
about
like,
dialogue.
like
Yeah,
writing
like, yeah,
is
that's
like
fucking
for
apparent.
normie. Yeah, dialogue is for normies or some shit. Like yeah, it's like what the fuck does
Bitch,
that
your
even
movie
mean?
would
you
not
know?
exist without writing.
Exactly. You're not
Yeah.
fucking 2001: A Space Odyssey.
What
with,
other
like,
movies did he
God knows
write?
how many, like tiny minutes of dialogue.
Yeah, like part of the reason why that movie is special and I love it so much is because of all the dialogue Hal says. Because it's writing that involves smart, strong
Yeah.
writing. Denis, you fucking piece of shit,
Yeah.
you hack. Like, shut up. Like,
I'm so glad that Jules is going on a Denis hater arc. I think it's very lovely. I personally support this.
Guadagnino is low-key better than him.
Like literally not even low key. like high key.
in my opinion, Guadagnino hasn't made anything as good as Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, yeah,
That's
he
like
has.
an actual,
Yes,
like,
he has.
Oh yeah.
almost
yeah.
masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
Oh, I guess-
every Guadagnino movie is better than Blade Runner 2049. Actually.
What other movies has Villeneuve written? Like, what did he? What else in his filmography did he write besides
let me
these
see, I
movies?
think
I'm
he-
curious. Did he write Arrival?
no, he didn't write Arrivals. That was based on a short story.
Okay.
He co-wrote Incendies, which is like that's a good film. Like I really like that. That's one of my favorite of his.
Okay, but that's in French, so like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
He wrote Polytechnique as well, which I don't like.
I've never seen
He
it. But I heard
wrote
it
he
was
wrote
bad.
his first 2 films, which I've heard are bad. So it's like I think he is at his best
Okay.
when he's not doing his own material. I'm assuming that it was with the
It's
first
really
movie
just kind of like
'cause,
further.
Eric Roth wrote it as well, but he didn't write the second one. And the guy who co-wrote the first and second one, both the first and second one with him, he also wrote The Mummy, 2017, Passengers, and Prometheus.
Jesus Christ.
So
Wow.
Jesus.
so that's who I'm blaming.
Yeah.
I think
I
bring
guess that
Eric
explains a
Roth
lot.
back. God damn.
Yeah. He was too busy writing fucking.
Yeah, I
Killers
mean,
of
I'm
the
glad
Flower
that he
Moon, man.
that he chose to work on that rather than Dune Part 2.
Yeah, I mean, like, what I like about Denis Villeneuve, like, anyway, as a director, has never been
Yeah,
his
it's his
writing
visuals.
anyway. Like, I don't have, like, quotes from it. Yeah,
Like, he
it's
has
his
such a
visuals
great
that I
command
remember
over the
more.
camera.
I like his directorial style more than... Yeah, like, what I love about Blade Runner 2049 has nothing to do with the dialogue. Not that it doesn't have, like, memorable dialogue, but, like, I remembered more the visuals. I remember the way things are shot more than, like, anything that the characters actually say. He really is, like a better version of Ridley Scott, because like Ridley Scott also has the same mentality where like he doesn't give a shit about like the scripts or the writing of his like of his movies. He just only cares about like does this look cool? Does this look awesome? Like that's the only thing he cares about. So Um, but anyway, I honestly have said everything I needed to say about Dune 2. I don't have anything else to say, so if there's something else you wanted to bring up about like the comparisons with the book or whatever.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff I could get into. I don't know. We've been. I want to talk about a movie that I actually like. So yeah, I'm done. If anyone wants the perfect version of this story, just read the book.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know vaguely what happens in Dune Messiah, but from what I understand, that's also like considered the worst book in the series or something like that. At least
there's like seven. There's like seven books that Dune Messiah is not considered the worst by like a long margin. Because he
I've heard the ones written by his son
Brian
Herbert or something. Well, that's his name. Yeah, I heard those were.
Because they're just kind of loosely assembled from his dad's notes. Dune Messiah was only written because it's like because it also happens to be like only like 200, 300 pages, whereas like Dune is like 600 pages. And he only wrote it because he got pissed off that not enough people came away with the viewpoint that Paul was actually like bad. So he just wrote that just to be like, in case you didn't get the message, here's what happened after.
If you're stupid,
yeah.
This is for dummies. This is if you are stupid, read this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that's like a fucking like C.S. Lewis style of writing, where like C.S. Lewis was like so fucking insistent on like, if people don't understand that the lion is Jesus Christ, I'm gonna fucking shoot myself. Like it really is like that mentality, like that style of writing. So he really, which is why like for me, I've always thought like it made sense why like Tolkien didn't like Dune, because like people kept comparing
he got really
his
pissed
work
off about that.
to Dune. Yes, like they're both not only entirely different stories, but they also have entirely different approaches to writing stories. Because like, I mean, I'm not gonna pretend I know anything about like Frank Herbert's style of writing. But from everything that you're saying, it seems like Frank Herbert was very insistent on making all of his metaphors very clear to people, and in case people didn't understand 100% understand, like he wrote another book so that people would understand.
I mean, he kind of just enjoyed the world. Like,
he like famous
because that's kind of the way he was like Tolkien, because like he kind of built the world first and then the characters within it. But he did it in a different way than Tolkien, because he like Tolkien was like thinking about like the history of like the world, basically. Like he was thinking of like like the first elves, basically, before he even thought of like the Lord of the Rings, whereas like Frank Herbert was like thinking of like Paul first and foremost.
It's like a different priorities on like what people find more valuable. But that's what I like about Tolkien, like, because like he very clearly loves this fake like nerd universe that he really loves.
It was the only thing keeping him going in World War One, when he was like in the Somme or whatever.
Oh, but don't bring that up to Tolkien, because he fucking hates allegory and he refuses to accept
the
any
Dead
theory
Marshes
that
was not inspired
the books
by
are his way of coping
battlefields.
with his experience. Yeah, Sam 100% does not look like a World War I British foot soldier. Absolutely not. Fuck you. You know, like dude, like this is also something I've like had a frustration with Tolkien as a writer as well. We're gonna move on after this, I swear. Just like one thing I wanted to bring up, where it's like Tolkien is so insistent that like no real or historical events influence his writing, but that is such a fucking that is such fucking bullshit. It's like you very clearly drew on your own experiences in World War One. You very clearly were inspired by like Catholicism and King Arthur stories and like medieval writing, and you're telling me that nothing influenced that? Like, go fuck yourself.
Chad,
like
honestly.
it's obvious it did. You created your own version of God and angels and Satan in this universe, you dick. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, whatever. That being said, the Silmarillion is like genuinely one of the most like challenging books I've ever read, because it barely feels like a book. It's more like reading it. It's like reading the Silmarillion is like reading the encyclopedia. Like, yeah, you could technically do it, but it's like it's so dry and so it's like reading the Bible. It's like, because like when you read something in the Silmarillion, you just think to yourself, wait, who the fuck was that again? I gotta go back like 20 pages and reread all the shit. So Yeah, I've only read it once, but it's like genuinely
Yeah,
like one
same.
of the more challenging things I've read. Like it's somehow more challenging than all the Lord of the Rings books, because like the Lord of the Rings books gets really, really in depth with all this like lore
Exactly.
shit that I
Yeah.
just like wait,
Yeah,
hold
hold on.
on,
Like,
hold on,
wait a second. Like,
I gotta take a minute to.
have you read have you ever
Yeah.
tried to read Blood
So,
Meridian?
I did a
Yeah.
long time ago. I read a bunch of Cormac
Because I was
McCarthy's
gonna say,
books
if you're like a
in high
dyslexic
school,
person who's
and
like reading,
yeah,
who's trying to read like Blood Meridian, you're like fucked. Like the way that man does not put
yeah,
like
you're fucked.
what's the word like speaking quotations or like commas or full stops or like anything or like capitalize any word. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's how I felt about like The Road, because that was my first Cormac McCarthy book, and I was like, because I was expecting like some fucking like Last of Us style like action, like post-apocalyptic drama or whatever, but it gets like weirdly descriptive on a lot of like random shit that I'm just like, wait, what? Like I gotta. So, but Cormac McCarthy is like a genius. I really love his books. I still haven't read I haven't read the book version of No Country for Old Men. I've only seen the Coen
Great.
Brothers movie,
Great.
but
I don't know why that
I'm
book
sure
was
that's great
like
as well.
reviewed
Yeah.
was not reviewed
So.
well at the time. It's a great book. Yeah. Anyway, one last thing
Oh, really?
I
I
wanted to
didn't know
mention
that.
about June 2. Do you guys think that the cinematographer
ahead.
has had his redemption arc for inventing the volume now?
What are you
the
talking about?
cinematographer Greg Fraser, who's from Melbourne, by the way, Melbourne boy.
Yeah.
He invented those like those volume like green screen things that Disney Plus and Disney uses that they invented for the Mandalorian that like they just spam everywhere now. And it just like looks like
Oh.
shit now.
You're talking about the fucking so that's what it's called, volume. You're talking about the
The screen
like
things.
like how like they have giant
Yeah.
LED screens
yeah.
or whatever, and they project like background images or something. Oh, you're talking about that?
Yeah,
Okay,
because
yeah.
he kind of
I
maybe do you
fucking
think
hate that
maybe he
shit.
felt guilty, so he's like, I gotta make the most like beautiful like the sand screens to make this movie look good.
Did they use like
No,
the volume?
he made
to make
an entirely
this
new
in part
technology
one?
called sand screens, which would reflect light in the desert.
Oh,
He's kind of like the
okay.
Oppenheimer of the film industry.
Yeah, see, like I fucking hate.
Just seeing his creation get like
kind of
butchered
feels
like
like that way, because
or
like
just spammed basically.
like at the time, like when I saw that in The Mandalorian, I was like, this is
Yeah.
really cool. Like like this is kind of like a new way to like incorporate like green screen without actually like using green screen. But now, like you said, it's like it makes everything so fucking fake and artificial. Like
It's
I
just-
fucking hated it in the Avatar: The Last Airbender
God,
live
yeah.
action show. Like because they spam that shit everywhere. and
once
it's
you
like,
notice
it makes
it,
the
like,
show look like some shitty fan.
Once you notice
like,
it, it's
fan
like
fiction.
it's impossible not to spot it, because I think that first season of The Mandalorian, like it used
Yeah.
it, but it used it like sparingly. Like they did actual location shooting.
Yeah, and also like you have to keep in mind
No
that
one knows
like
how to
when you use
fucking
technology
frame
like
anymore.
that, like you have to use it for specific
Exactly.
purposes. Yeah, exactly. Like when you're using it as like a background for shit like deserts or like water or something like that, then like yeah, it works because it's just sand and water, you know? Like it doesn't require super complex like imagery or whatever. But when you have to create like actual fucking cities and like complex civilizations in the background, it just makes like, everything look
They can't
so
even do
uncanny
that, though.
valley,
Like,
you
I
know, to the
watched
point
the-
where it's like, God, this
I
is
watched a bit of the
disgusting to
Percy
look at.
Jackson show with my family, and there was like one shot where like a guy was like, where like Ares was walking along a beach, and it was like, it looked like shit, and I was like, that's the fucking volume. Like, that's what they've used there. Like, you couldn't just find
Oh,
a beach.
yeah.
Like, the beaches exist.
I saw that. Yeah, it was disgusting. Yeah, and I don't use. We probably saw this, like the fight between Zuko and fucking what's his name, the boomerang boy from Avatar. I'm not like a fan of the show or anything, so that's why I'm like confused. Sokka, that was it. Yeah, when Sokka and Zuko like fight each other in the ice, the background, like Arctic like background, looked so fucking awful. Like I was just like, I can't believe this. Could you not actually like go to Alaska or something and like film this fight scene in real
too
time? Like, did
expensive.
you seriously need to use a volume to like as like a background image? It's like. Is it really that much more expensive to just go to Alaska or something? Like, is it really? I find that hard to believe, but whatever. So, anyway, Speaking of,
We didn't give our ratings.
anyway, I'm giving yeah, it's Dune 2 for me. It's like a 7 or 8 out of 10. I gave it an 8, but like I don't know, it could go one way or the other. Like I loved the movie, but I also like, I mean, you definitely influenced my rating for the film as well, but
Hell
like
yeah.
when thinking about all these things that you're talking about, it does make me think, man, maybe this wasn't as good as I remember. Maybe there is room for improvement for this film more so than I thought. But you know, I'm also like not a Dune expert or anything, but that's just me. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm going. I think I'm gonna go 6, but closer to a 5 than a 7.
Yeah, I would also give it a 6. I liked it more than the first one. The first one's like maybe a 4 out of 10 for me. Like, actually, fuck that movie. This one I liked more. But yeah, still not really fully in my vibe. But I liked it overall. 6 out of 10.
yeah. I guess this is just like made for someone like me because I like these like big poppy sci-fi action epic movies. You know, like this is the type of shit that I like. So
I'm more of a
whatever.
2001 boy myself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 2001 is like one of the best movies
Okay,
ever
guys,
made, but it's like
we
in
need
terms
to
of
come
like
back
pure.
to Earth. We need to come back to Earth. We need to get
Right.
off this stupid
Let's
desert.
go to Vietnam.
And we gotta
Let's-
go to the jungle.
Yeah.
Hell
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Red Notice. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So.
Yes, that's my recommendation.
Yeah. Let's
my
let's
sense
talk about the
recommended. I
movie.
picked
Yeah.
2 movies. One is my 4th favorite film, 1979's Apocalypse Now, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and the other was the 1991 documentary about the making of the film called Hearts of Darkness, a filmmaker's apocalypse, directed by Fax Barr and George Hickenlooper. And I love both movies, both movie and documentary, but the Apocalypse Now is obviously the thing I love the most in my top 4 movies. Like, I think it's the highest achievement that Coppola has ever made and probably will ever make. I don't know what he's doing after Megalopolis, so we'll see. Yeah, it's better than the
I mean,
better
it all
than the
went down for
Godfather.
him after this movie anyway. So like,
Nah,
it all kind of went down for him anyway afterwards. So it's like, you know, it's
not really.
it
but
wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, but I see what you mean. Yeah.
What do you mean? Dracula
Um,
fucking is so sick.
Yeah, he produced like the Black
I guess
Stallion.
I was thinking more shit like Jack.
Yeah, but he only made those films like because he wanted to make Megalopolis. Like he made Jack because he wanted to make Megalopolis in like the early 2000s, but then he like canned it because of 9/11. So they were only ever to raise funds.
Yeah, and I'm sure he made The Godfather Part 3 for that reason too. I have never like finished The Godfather 3 from beginning. I think I've like tried like multiple times and I could never finish it because I'm just like, this is the most boring shit ever. Like I just can't
Well,
deal
if Mario
with it. And like
if
I've
Mario
seen
Puzo
some
hadn't
couple
died,
of
he probably
movies
would have made The
after,
Godfather 4.
which is just the scariest thing ever. But yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, what did we think of
Yeah,
Apocalypse
I finally
Now?
get all the references in the.
I just wanted
Well,
to
I was just going to
say-
mention, I finally get all the references from that one episode of Community, the documentary filmmaking redux
yep.
or whatever it's called. I finally get all the
Amazing.
references in that episode now. So
I was gonna
yeah.
say
So,
that.
but anyway, yeah, Luca, go ahead.
It's probably best to just talk about these two together.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
think
say. Like,
that-
just kind of because Apocalypse Now is
Yeah.
obviously the main
Yeah, I think
subject,
it's
and we
best
can
to
just
do
kind
that.
of like mingle them in.
But we can be like, oh, like that bit in the documentary
Exactly.
when it shows how that bit was made.
Also,
you
your
know,
voice
yeah.
is like back to normal now, Luca.
I'm sure it will dip in and dip out.
I think it's crazy. Coppola was constantly like on edge with like the stuff like the helicopters because they were constantly being taken
Yeah.
away from him because they technically weren't his
'Cause they
to
were
own in the
rented.
first place. Which is I think is really, yeah, they were rented and like the Philippine government like basically like just took them whenever they wanted because they were actually fighting a fucking civil war like at the time.
Yeah.
So it was just like it's crazy to me like that they even were able to pull off those like helicopter sequences just in general because like those are really well shot and really well coordinated. Yeah, like it's crazy that this movie even came to fruition in the first place. Like it's like because if I was like Coppola's,
and not only that it came to fruition, but also the fact that it was like a masterpiece. Like it
was good.
It should have been like something.
Exactly.
It could have been like something like Heaven's Gate, like where it was just like it came out and like everyone was just like.
That's a good example. That's a very good example.
In the words of Vincent Canby, unqualified disaster.
Yeah, like when you watch Hearts of Darkness, you're like, how the fuck did this movie actually turn out this good?
Yeah, I know.
Because you're sitting there and you're like hearing all these stories and you're looking at like all this behind the scenes stuff and you're like, what happened in the universe for all the stars to actually align for this movie to become good?
Yeah.
Because like it's like a total miracle. Yeah, like it's absolutely a total miracle because like I'm not gonna lie, like the way Francis Ford Coppola acts and like how everyone acts in that documentary and just seeing like everyone is a mess, like it looks so messy, it looks like the most batshit crazy unprofessionally made film production chaos. Like ever.
It was utter chaos.
Yeah, it was.
That shit he says
like
at the beginning. The thing he says at
chaos.
the beginning of Hearts of Darkness, like we had too much money, we had too much equipment, and then little by little we went insane.
Yeah, and you can really see that in the documentary as well. Like just like Coppola's like frustration. He's just constantly pissed off, and he's also really just kind of getting crazy.
Yeah.
They mentioned in the documentary that like he just started shaving his beard and he started like losing weight or whatever, and like he had to like it's really like it really
he had like a really
broke my heart.
violent episode like where he was like spasming on the ground and stuff.
Yeah, like
I don't know if they mentioned that like very much in the.
Yeah, it really broke my heart when like Coppola like he did this like ritual where it's like, oh, we do this for good luck like on the film production, and then everything just like goes to fucking shit. It's just like, that's really hilarious to me, and like I think like it.
Yeah, I mean he had like all this shit thrown against him. It was just like it's like Civil War, like it's an already complicated production as it is in like a foreign country, like Civil War, a fucking typhoon. He chose to replace one of his main actor. He had to.
Yeah.
Then that replacement had like a heart attack. And it was just like so many things were going wrong. And then right at the end he had to deal with
the scale as well.
Marlon motherfucking Brando just being Marlon Brando.
Petty piece of shit.
He had to deal with
like
Dennis Hopper as well, who was like stoned out of his mind.
It felt like he was stoned out of his mind in the actual movie.
That was
because
so
like
funny.
it's
that
really
one clip of him like in the yellow shirt like talking to Dennis Hopper where he's like, I don't know my lines. He's like so clearly frustrated. He's just like trying to be patient with him.
When they're interviewing him, when they were like, did you drop acid? And I was like, oh, they're talking to him like he's in character, like they're trying to reference the movie. And he was like, yeah, but not during that time. I was
you didn't know about that?
I was like, what the fuck?
Dennis Hopper was like the most infamous drug addict in like Hollywood. Like he was crazy. Like there was
that explains a lot of his like choices, and that also explains a lot of his choices in like the movies he like stars in, because he's in shit like this, but then he's also in shit like the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like
I mean, that was when he was like sober. Like his 70s period was like when he was like
okay, gotcha.
It was when he was like insane, and then he got sober, and then he came back and did like Blue Velvet. But he's like he's like sort of half acting in the film, where he's just like his like kind of crazy mannerisms and stuff.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper and Marlon Brando just like they look like they want to fucking kill each other. I think it's just like
they did in real life. They hated each other. Like Marlon Brando refused to be in the same room as him. Like
Marlon
the bit
Brando,
where he like throws he throws the bit at him he throws like the whatever it was in the film at him.
Yeah.
Like it's like you fucking like that they weren't even in the same room at that time. Like And
they weren't acting.
yeah, and if they were, like, he must have really thrown that in him and like really delivered that line. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say
fucking hate you.
like that was such a weird scene when like near the end of the film when Marlon Brando just like throws that shit at Dennis Hopper. He's like, "You mutt" or whatever, and I was like, that was weird. Like, why did you do that? And then and then you understand the context of like they fucking hated each other. So it's like, did you just do that on purpose? Did you purposely just throw random shit at Dennis Hopper? Like, even though it wasn't.
It wouldn't surprise me, honestly.
Like that.
I don't know
like
that
what
it was unscripted, but
it seemed unscripted. Like it seemed like Marlon Brando just
funny.
threw shit at him just because he fucking hated him that much. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was what happened. But like,
yeah, I mean, he loved improvisation, so
yeah. But Francis, I guess Francis just
I
loved
love that bit
so
in
much.
Hearts of Darkness where he says I swallowed the bug. Like, have you guys ever seen that photo of him on the set where he's got the beetle on top of his head?
Oh yeah, I think I have. Yeah,
No.
That's one of my favorite photos.
yeah. It seemed like Marlon
Do you guys
Brando
want
was
to
just.
start talking about the actual film?
But
yeah.
one more
What do you
thing,
say
like I
about
wanted to
Brando?
bring up, there
Yeah.
were like there were two things I wanted to specifically bring up. One was like Marlon Brando, like he just seemed. I get that he has this like reputation for being difficult to work with, but it seemed like he was just being an asshole for the sake of being an asshole. Like when Francis Ford Coppola,
I think that's
had
just him. Like,
yeah, what like Francis Ford Coppola was having that like meltdown or whatever, like on the phone where it's like, what do you mean you can't like come like later than I want you to? Like, I paid you $1 million fucking to like be in this movie or whatever, and just to see him like
yeah, I paid you
this
$1 million
meltdown-
advance, and he's just like, no, and I'm keeping the $1 million, thanks.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck, like, dude, like. But yeah, I mentioned this before. I asked this before, but like to think that like George Lucas was like going to direct this, like no wonder he left this project to do Star
So you guys,
Wars. You know,
you guys
it's like
didn't know that?
no, I knew that before. I only asked like what George Lucas. I already knew that George Lucas was originally attached to direct this. I just wanted to know like what like are there any notes or whatever like that would have described like what his version of the movie would have looked like? Because like I know he like left this
I haven't
project.
looked into it hard enough.
Yeah, I know he like left this to do Star Wars. But I got like mixed information on why he left this to do Star Wars. Like from what I understand, on the one hand, George's reasoning for leaving to do Star Wars was because he just purely wanted to do like a Flash Gordon type samurai western space opera movie or whatever.
I think he got kind of bored because while they were kind of location scouting and seeing where they could find like places to shoot it because it was after the war, so they kind of like restructured their whole plan. And then he was like, oh well, while I'm waiting, I might as well like whip up my little treatment for this little space thing I've got in my head.
Yeah.
And then he kind of just got excited by that, so he was just like, I'll just do this first. And then Coppola was like, okay, well, we're gonna set up American Zoetrope together, and then I'll just do this one first, like, and then we'll go from there. So that was kind of how it came together.
I mean, like, because I was like the mixed reaction that I was getting was like both Coppola and the screenwriter John Milius, or however you pronounce his name, like
John Milius, yeah,
they were claiming that like Lucas left because like he got a taste of money or some shit, because like apparently American Graffiti was like a huge like box office success or something.
Yeah, American Graffiti was huge.
Yeah, and like he got rich and he was like, you know what, I would rather not be in the jungle working my ass off on a movie that might not, like, I'm honestly surprised this movie was even a box office success. Like, I'm surprised this movie even made money to begin with.
Well, it was just like a very well talked about movie. Like, people were like, oh man, is this movie ever gonna actually come out? So I suppose a lot of people were like, curious.
That reason. Okay, yeah. And because like there was a lot of stuff in the movie that I'm assuming is in the Redux version, because they spent a lot of time like talking about like the French plantation scene, but I was like,
the French plantation,
yeah, because I was like, this wasn't in the movie. I don't know what this is. Yeah, I assumed, because I was like, because I saw that and I was like, I don't know what this is. Like this wasn't in the movie that I saw, but I assumed it's like in one of the longer cuts or something like that. And the way he described the French plantation scene like sounded cool on paper, like because he wanted it to be like a throwback to like how like the French like colonized like Vietnam and like Indochina in general. Like I'm like familiar with that history, but I wasn't familiar with how that was used in the movie. And I was like, oh, I guess on paper that sounds kind of cool, but like from the people who I've talked to who do not like the Redux like cut, like they've mentioned that like the French plantation, like
Take
literally,
it from me, I
you don't like the Redux version either.
I mean, it's still it's still like a version of like one of the greatest movies. So it's like, but it's more like
Okay.
if the one on the theatrical cut is like a 10 out of 10, then the Redux cut's like an 8 out of 10.
Okay,
That's the
because from
simplest
what
way
I
I could put
understand,
it.
like the French plantation scene, like literally, like stops the movie, like
Yeah, it kind
stops
of
it to
grinds
like a
the movie. It
screeching
really
halt,
grinds the movie to a halt.
and like
Yeah.
it ruins the pacing of the
And it
film,
goes on
which
for like quite a bit.
yeah, which for me, like even like as someone who watched the theatrical cut, even I was just like kind of getting impatient at certain points where it's like, all right, let's just kind of move on already. So if that was in the theatrical cut, I would have lost my mind. I was like, no, fuck you, Francis. No, you can't do this. So, but yeah, anyway, we can talk about like the actual movie.
Yeah, get
Which,
into it.
which
Guys,
for
one
me,
of you guys started off.
yeah, so this is my first time seeing this film. I had never seen this film beforehand. I've heard nothing but fantastic, great things about it. It's considered one of the best movies of all time, blah, 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 whatever. So I was very curious. I like kind of knew what to expect because I already knew all like the famous like parts of the movie. Like I love the smell of napalm in the morning, blah, blah, blah. And I knew like the Ride of the Valkyries, music is in the film or whatever, and I was also like aware that like it's a loose adaptation of Heart of Darkness, the whoever wrote the, I was gonna say Charlie Marlowe, but then I was like, wait, no, that was the main character. What was the author of the novella? I don't know. It'll come back to me at some point. But anyway, I was like, I had like all these. I was like vaguely aware of like a lot of like the famous parts of the movie, so like I had some expectation going in, and in many ways it met my expectations. Because I was. I think this movie is incredible. I'll just say that up front. I thought it was an incredible experience. I really love this. The film is not really about war, like technically, like it is like a war film, but it's more about like the descent into madness that these soldiers go through as they plunge themselves further and further into like the horrifying natures of the Vietnam War. It kind of reminded me of stuff like Full Metal Jacket or Come and See, in the sense that like those are also movies that are about like characters losing their sanity and losing their humanity and losing their losing their like their spirits and hearts as they plunge themselves further into their like respective conflicts. This movie like kind of reminded me of those films, and I really loved that particular angle of the movie, because if I'm being honest, like the parts that were like the least interesting to me were the actual like shooting parts, like the parts where like people are shooting guns and like doing like war shit. Like I was way more interested in like the descent into madness a lot of the characters are going to. Like I love how like the character Chef, like what sets him off has nothing to do with like the shooting or the guns. It's the fact that like a tiger almost ate him and like he starts freaking out. It's like, I'm not gonna like die to like a fucking tiger or whatever and stuff like that. And I love how like there are these like specific things that like set people off in the wrong way, and I just love how and I love that particular angle
They're
of the
all
film.
on like a hair trigger, basically.
Yeah, and yeah, like some scenes were like genuinely terrifying. I think that scene where the crew like go to like the bridge that's been attacked by like the Viet Cong or whatever, and like
bridge,
people are like and people are like begging them to like please save us, like please don't leave us or whatever, and then like you see that one like gunner or whatever, that it was kind of funny. He was like what are you shooting at, soldier? And he's like, what the fuck do you think I'm shooting at the enemy. He's like, oh shit, you're a high ranking officer, sorry. But then he just like goes back to being like this like crazy person, and then you have this other guy with like the grenade launcher. He kind of reminded me of he kind of reminded me of like Animal Mother from Full Metal Jacket, where he's like this guy who's like he's so like he's completely lost it. He's completely lost his like he becomes like, you know, like a full killing machine, you know, like Animal Mother from Full Metal Jacket. It's like it's such a small moment, but I found that so memorable because
it's such a memorable moment. Yeah,
it's like
the way he
it's
just
terrifying.
goes,
like
and then he just walks off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like,
It's like, oh, yeah,
it's
it's
terrifying.
such a clear, like, intent, but it's just like, oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you contrast that with like how like I love how what the film says about like soldiers, where it's like once you're in this fight long enough, like you just become like a animalistic like crazy person or
you go
whatever. Like
primal.
when they yeah, like when you do the when they do like the strip show or whatever with like the Playboy bunnies or something, like everyone starts like freaking out and starts like trying to like jump over like the barriers to get them, and then you have those two guys who are like holding onto the helicopter because like they so badly want pussy,
Yeah.
which you know is the inaccurate representation of weebs, you know, today and stuff. So you know, but. Yeah, it's just an incredible. Like, I literally could go on about like every single scene of this film because I think almost every single moment of this film is like so memorable. Like,
Perfect.
a lot of points are like etched into my memory. Now, that being said, I don't think it's like a perfect movie because I do have like small issues with the film, but I'll save those for later. So, yeah, Luca can
Yeah.
go ahead and
Luca,
talk
what did
about
you
what
think?
she liked.
No, yeah, I mean it's an impeccable film. The fact, yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to talk about it without mentioning its production history, but like, yeah, it's an incredible feat. This was the first time I had seen this film since like, I don't know, since I was a teenager. Since I was a young teenager. So it's been a while. It's been a long while. But yeah, it was definitely worthy of rewatching. And I recently also just started working on this film for film school, so everything kind of just like clicked into place perfectly at the time when I was watching this. Yeah, I think it's like one of those old, like, classic talked about movies that just like stands the test of time. And I totally fully agree with Jules that like this is definitely Coppola's best work.
I disagree. I think I like The Godfather one more than this one, but that's just me. Not
I
to
mean, The
sound like a
Godfather is obviously
basic
one of the best
bitch or
films
anything.
ever, but yeah.
Not
Yeah.
to sound like a basic
Real
bitch.
ones say Rumblefish is his best film.
And I think Coppola himself has said
Yeah,
that
I mean,
too.
I think you're either saying The Godfather or you're saying, but you know what? You guys know me and my weird takes. I would say I would say Apocalypse Now, and is better. And then I would say Bram Stoker's Dracula is also better than The Godfather. Get off my turf. That's what I feel. That's what I say.
I still haven't seen Bram Stoker's Dracula,
Which I also watched. Don't watch it. I do not think you will like it. But anyways, yeah, like it's like, I mean, I guess where do I even start?
It is hard to start
I mean,
on
it's, yeah. I guess the only place to start is from the very beginning itself, and it's like one of the most iconic,
Oh my god, yeah.
like film openings
So
ever.
fucking-
Like when I think of like iconic film openings, I think of like what always jumps into mind is like the Train Spotting opening, like just the slam, foot to the ground, and this is like one of those, like on the same level of iconicness. Like,
You know
just
what's funny
like
that I
like-
learned about that opening? That not only was like Martin Sheen actually drunk and just like flailing around like in that opening scene, but it was also his birthday or something.
I know.
And I think that's like the funniest shit ever to me. Like he was like drunk on his birthday, and like Coppola's like, "Fuck, get that right now," you know, and like use that as the opening. I thought that's funny. So, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going.
Yeah, and then you've got that Doors song.
Oh my god,
that,
it's such a
like
It's a
so
really great song.
genius to use the music of the Doors.
Yeah,
It's-
which fun
is the
fact,
end.
that song wasn't originally planned. Well, it wasn't not originally planned, but if you read the screenplay, the
Yeah.
screenplay actually says possibly X song.
Yeah.
So it's like they weren't even finalized on it, but like it's obviously
It's
the perfect choice because. And then it comes back later in the film, and it's like, oh,
it just
like,
relates.
Yeah, like,
it kind of just
like,
it feels like it's crazy that it wasn't made for the film because it feels like it just relates to the film like so much, even like in its lyrics, like
it like naturally fits within the context of the film.
Children
and I like the Doors, like. Yeah, so like when they played that song in the opening and somewhere near the end, I was like, oh hell yeah, this is like, I love this I love the song in general, but like the way the song is utilized, because like what I love about the film is that it almost feels like this like psychedelic road trip where like people are just going like further and further crazy into like the depths of their acid trip, and like I love the inclusion of the Doors as a catalyst for like this like psychedelic tone that the film is going for. It's just really great music choices in my opinion. I like both like stuff like the Doors, but also just like just the use of what's the phrase called? Is it diegetic music? Like what's the type of music where like where like music people can actually like listen to, like the character is actually listening to them or something. It's called diegetic music, right?
Diegetic.
Okay, yeah, because I love how, like, say for example, like when Lawrence Fishburne's character is like dancing to the Rolling Stones song or whatever, and it's just like, and they play Satisfaction. I just think that like things like that really just like not only kind of humanize the characters a little bit, but also just further like adds to like the psychedelic road trip tone of the film, and then you just have that amazing scene where fucking what's his face Kilgore goes like let's play Wagner, you know, to scare the piss out of them or whatever, you know, and like it's this epic bombastic like classical like music going along as they're like bombing and like gunning the shit out of these people or whatever. I just think that's just so and Kilgore is such a
it's also like the way that they use that music is just like in the diegetic way is like the characters are like they need this type of music to make them like to remind them of home, to make them feel like they're at home. That's why as well as like the shit like the beers and like the girls and like the drugs and stuff, like it's all to kind of just distract them from the hell that they're really in, like to make it kind of seem like it's all good, like it's all kind of just like a tropical paradise. But then the further and further you go, it's just like it becomes like, oh my fucking god, like where are we, what is going on, like you know, we're at the Dolong Bridge now, we're not at the fucking the Ride of the Valkyries basically.
Yeah, and I love how like some of the characters I actually kind of embrace that like chaotic nature of the war. Like I love like Kilgore's character because like he is so gleefully into like all the violence and stuff, which is also particularly like hypocritical because like he's not actually doing any of the fighting. He's just kind of like standing around and just like telling people what to do or what to fight. I love that scene.
But this is like
hilarious.
He's not even bothered by the fighting itself. Like there's like the bits where it's like where just like bullets and shells like kind of explode next to him, and he just doesn't even react. Like everyone else cares about is like it's like he's not even aware of what's going on barely.
Yeah, like he's like when he's in like the minefield or whatever, he doesn't give a shit about any of that. He cares more about like surfing or whatever. Like I love that scene. I found this hilarious where he's like
it's so
the soldier's like, sir, like are you sure it's like, do you think it's really safe to like to surf here, like in this minefield, this battlefield? It's like if I say it's fucking safe
this beach, Captain, it's safe to surf this beach.
Yeah, and it's like you either surf or you fight, you know. And then I love how like he's so in love with like Lance because he's this like this celebrity surfer. He's like, Lance, like what if we surf this or whatever, or what if we use this board instead of that board or whatever. I that was so hilarious to me. And I love that. Another scene that I found so fucking funny was the scene where he's like chastising that South Vietnamese soldier. He's like, he's Viet Cong. He's like, he's anyone who's like struggling to fight, to hold on to their guts deserve a drink of water from me. But then he immediately like wastes most of it when he realizes that like Lance or like surfing guy was like near. I thought that was so funny.
He just gets distracted so instantly. Yeah, it's like weird
Yeah,
because he
he's
has
like
like
that.
he has like a weird like love for his men, but he's also just kind of singularly minded, where he's just like his mind can only focus on like one thing at a time. Because like he is truly just like a born like soldier. Like imagine that man just like in normal town like America. Like he's a kind of guy who could only ever succeed in war. Like that's
Yeah,
the
he's
only
like
thing
that
he would
weird
ever
kid
be
with
good at. Like
he's like that weird kid with ADD. You know, it's like
yeah,
um,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
if you just like imagine that guy just like being like the manager of a Walmart or something, it's like ridiculous.
Yeah, and I love that. I
That's
particularly
why he's like
found
there's
that.
such a sadness in that line where he says like
I was gonna
someday this
mention that.
war's gonna end. He's like he
Yeah,
looks like genuinely so sad about it.
yeah. Like I was gonna mention that too. I love that line where it's like, "Someday this war's gonna end," you know. But he's so disappointed when he says that because he clearly this is his peak. Like this is where he like truly
Yeah, this
feels
is
at
like
home.
he's never gonna
Um,
do anything as good as this again or feel anything as good as this again.
Yeah, which like is also like in a way like mirrors Martin Sheen's character because like he has that opening
Exactly.
monologue where he's like he wakes up and it's like damn it I'm still in Saigon like I should be out there like in a mission, you know, and he talks about how he when he came back home like he became a different person and like he never said anything until except yes to like the divorce papers or something like that. That was like kind
Yeah,
of one
yeah.
of the things that I was disappointed though about this film is that like I wish they explored more of that. Like I really wish they like explored further into like
Between Willard and his
um
wife.
yeah, well, not specifically that, more just like Willard's like psyche just in general, because I feel like they introduced that and
I
that's
agree
like
though.
kind of put in the sideline. I get that like it's further explored near the end or whatever, but I really wish that was like his descent into madness. You know, I guess he was already in madness, but his descent into madness more, I
Yeah.
guess, like is like more further like focused in like in the middle chunk of the film,
Well,
like, but you know, like whatever. I mean, okay. I guess like what I'm saying is I just wanted there to be more. I know this is weird to say. I wish it was more obvious if that makes sense because it feels like a lot of what's happening um is already like I actually don't know how to describe it. Never mind, keep going. You say your thing. I don't know what I'm saying.
the whole kind of movie is basically like the main character of the entire film is basically Kurtz because we're seeing his like because Willard's journey down the river mirrors his basically like the things he begins to see like and the way he kind of is driven slowly into madness to the point where he has to kill Kurtz and then becomes Kurtz basically where everyone kind of like bows down to him as like the line in the script is like a godlike warrior so basically what you are seeing his descent into madness but you're seeing Kurtz's descent into madness as well at the same time because they're kind of basically the same character in a way. I mean obviously they're different but it's like the cycle of pain and just like suffering basically and like torture just gets kind of is passed on from one to the other when he kills him.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, sorry. I'll take that back. I don't know what I was saying. I guess
Yeah,
like
because it kind of
for
like
me,
when he's like reading through the dossier of Kurtz, it's like it really just kind of goes through like when it's like he was the oldest person at the academy and the second oldest person
I
was
was gonna
half his
say
age. It's
I
like,
did love
and
that.
like Willard's like the oldest person like on the boat by far. Like he's real he sorry I just got distracted by something.
No, it's
He's
fine. Yeah.
he's kind of he's not the leader of the boat because Chief is the leader of the boat. But he's sorry, I keep losing my train of thought. There's like fucking rain going on outside. And he's so when Kurtz was the youngest person in the academy and the second youngest person was like half his age, but it's like so the class is basically the boat, in a way, and like he masters all the training basically because he already knows what to do basically, where he's just like where he shoots that one woman and then suddenly it's like oh Like, he's not... Because in the first half of the movie, he's basically an observer to everything that's going on. Like, you're seeing, like, the Ride of the Valkyries and stuff, and, like, he doesn't charge the stage at with the Playboy bunnies. But the second he shoots that one woman, it's like he becomes, like, he becomes directly involved now. Like, he's no longer just an observer. He's, like, an actual, like, cold-blooded killer. He's not just, like, someone who's, like, maybe, like, a little weird and, like, tortured in the head. Like, he's someone who can just actively kill someone. Not unlike...
Yeah.
Which is obviously not unlike the behavior that Kurtz displays. Where the Dennis Hopper's like, yeah, sometimes he goes a little funny and he gets carried away and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that same thing. I love how I think the decision to not show Kurtz's character, like the actual character, until like the last like 30 minutes, I think is a very inspired choice. What we instead get is like Willard like reading about Kurtz and actually like being impressed by his background, and like he builds this perception of the guy like in his head where it's like, I don't know why, like, you know, like it makes me realize, like, I like that particular line where they go, would the CIA still, sorry, not the CIA, fucking whatever, like, would they still have wanted me to kill this man in spite of everything I've seen and know about the guy, you know? Because I love how, like, even though he's tasked with killing Kurtz, like, he still has this, like, sense of admiration for the character as well. Like, he sees elements of himself in Kurtz, and I think you're absolutely right. Like, the dual perspective, it's like looking at a mirror type thing. It's really interesting. I just think that everything that Kurtz says in this film, like, you know, like I love how like there are certain shots that are just on his face and he's just like talking. I'm just like, wow, like,
oh my god, that
I'm
lighting
like really
on his face
into this
as well.
Yeah, the lighting on his face, you could never, like, there's never a moment where like you see his face like fully, you know, like it's always like obscured with darkness.
Because he's always shrouded in mystery. Like,
yeah, it's like, wow, this
is
like
he never really reveals himself fully because he's such a haunted,
enigma,
like, reclusive person, basically. Yeah, he's an enigma.
It's like, I love how, like, it's weird. It's like, I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, like, half the time, but I'm, like, interested in what the fuck you're talking about, if that makes sense. Like, that was, like, the impression I was getting from Kurtz. Yeah. So,
it's just, like, the kind of, like, the slow way he speaks is, like, but you're just, like, really just, like, hanging on to his every word, and he's got the most, like, deep, just, like, eyes that just kind of, like, stare back at you through, like, the gloom and stuff. And it's just, like, you can't take your eyes off of him. Like, he almost holds you captive, basically, as he's holding Willard captive.
Yeah. Yep, sorry. Luca, did you have anything you wanted to say? We've been going back and forth on this.
No, I've just been listening to you guys have your little chat. Yeah.
Do you have any interpretations or themes?
Yeah, did you have anything you wanted to...
I mean, I think it's pretty, like... face value what it's trying to go for, you know? Like, I don't think it's...
I mean...
Which is, like, not a bad thing about the film at all. Like, it is just this guy's descent into madness, and that can be seen from the first scene all the way to the last moment of the film. He doesn't leave this perpetual state of madness, and that's how badly, like, being in Vietnam has affected him.
In the best way possible. It's, like, the most unsubtle thing ever. Like, it is very... It's very in your face about what it's about. Yeah. No.
I mean, not particularly. Like, I think the stuff, like, with Willard's inner psyche is a bit more, like, you have to kind of dissect it. But, like, it is very in your face about the fact that, like, yeah, Vietnam was not good, and it really fucked people up.
Guys, turns out war
and it
is
was
bad.
so haunting to...
Yeah. I mean, I don't even...
And it was, like, haunting to, like, see how actually, like, screwed up it was beyond the fact of like, oh, just guns and explosions, like how deranged people became and like how decimated everything was and how easily it was to make everything become so decimated. And yeah, I think my favorite bit is, I mean, I really like the first kind of siege, and you kind of just see like how it's like just this ordinary regular old village that like where people are just being people that gets fucking bombed to shit. It's I mean, it's obviously very purposeful to show it off like just like this peace and calm little area, and then like the fucking rolling thunder comes in. And yeah, and then I also really like the scene where they're like at the bridge and Willard kind of goes off like that like was just impeccable. Like that whole scene, I love the music that's being used in that scene, and like from there on in the film afterwards, there's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like kind of synthy, like kind of esoteric. It's just kind of like yeah, you know, like the score, it's fantastic, and there's all these elements that are combined to create like just this like the most uneasy atmosphere, which I mean it was, you know, like yeah. like I said earlier, it's literally a descent into hell. It's like, what does Willard say? He's like, you don't get off the boat unless you're going all the way in.
Exactly.
Like you like if you're on the elevator down to hell, like you're not getting off until you're at the final stop, you know? Like that's what you've signed up for. That's where you are. There is no other option, because that's what it is. Like the option is death or hell. Like which one do you want to endure? Because yeah. And yeah, honestly, like, I mean, yeah, I don't really have any flaws with the film. I would say that, like, I know it's supposed to be kind of like the best bit of the movie, but I feel like they could have maybe spent a bit more time with like cuts.
I mean, there's more scenes with him in the Redux cut.
Yeah, I feel like he's like such an important like antagonist to the film.
He's not that.
That like,
I mean, he's not even.
He kind of only
he's
shows
not an
up in like the
antagonist.
last 30 minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him an antagonist.
Yeah, he's not really an antagonist.
I don't know, but
If
I
anything,
like how,
I refer to him as like the biggest like victim of in the film, because like the villain of the
like,
movie is the war itself.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, like
he's
like out of every soldier that we see in the film, he's probably been in the game the longest. You can see just very clearly how.
Yeah, he was there in like 1963.
Yeah, and like you can clearly see how much time has like really just fucked up his psyche, fucked up his viewpoints, like just fucked everything about his just life in general.
Yeah,
you know, it's like it's really sad, and it's why I actually like the limited screen time of Kurtz, because it's like I feel like any more and it would just be overstaying its welcome. You know, like I like the mystery that's surrounding him. I love the fact that like, oh, you don't get to see the guy. You only get to see like pictures of him, and you only get to hear like snippets and like bullet points about him. But when you finally meet the guy, it's like, wow, it's like, I can't believe I have to kill you, man. It's like, you're so captivating. You're so like, no wonder you've built this like cult, you know? Because it's like everything you're saying, like, even though it doesn't make any sense, it also kind of makes sense at the same time. It's weird. I just really liked that character a lot.
Yeah, no, he's a great
amazing character.
I like that at the end, Willard kind of rises up, or not really rises up, but he kind of like becomes like this focal point, which is very interesting because like throughout the whole film, like people like are constantly referring to him as like Captain Willard, you know, and to me it's like, captain kind of, that's like kind of a title that is given to someone that like of a higher rank or something, like someone that's supposed to be giving orders and stuff. But he's not really like, he doesn't really have like a higher role than anyone else in the film until like that very
when he becomes
end,
God
of the film. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and then obviously there's that ending of just the horrors, because yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that he had that plagues his mind, is this horror.
Even on the verge of death, he can't help but just see what has consumed him. Which is like the most horrifying existence you can imagine.
Exactly.
I love like that one line that Martin Sheen's character says, where it's like, they're probably gonna make me a fucking major after this or whatever, but it's like, that's bullshit. It's like, I don't give a shit about any of that. It's like, a title isn't gonna like change my perspective. Like, a title isn't gonna make everything better for me, you know. It's like, this is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. And I just love that. I love how in the beginning, like, these generals, this Harrison Ford general, like, he looks so clean cut and looks like he's fresh out of school. Like, he doesn't clearly, like, he clearly has
never served
like,
in the field.
He's never stepped foot. Yeah, he's never stepped foot in the front lines, and then you just contrast that with like Martin Sheen, who's just shirtless and covered with like face paint and like like emerging out of like the water or whatever, the famous shot. Like, man, such good contrast. Like, when you really think about everything that happens in the film and you contrast it with other moments of the film, it's just like it's like poetry. It rhymes, as the previous director of this movie once said. So.
And yeah, like you were saying about the ranks, like, oh, they'll probably make me major after this, and like, I mean, the film even like says itself that like the rank and the titles, they don't even matter anyway.
Exactly.
Because like Willard is supposedly a captain, but like he is still living through it the exact same as everyone else. He still experienced it. He was still fucked up by it all. Like,
yeah, and that explains like why, like, I mean, not explains, more like it really like puts into context like Kurtz's like actions based on like everything that Martin Sheen describes, where it's like, oh, like he could have been a general, like he could have been like a top commanding officer or whatever, but it's like you said, it's like the rank doesn't matter. Like, the rank is like a load of horse shit, you know. It's just like it's just like, it doesn't matter like how high the command he races up. He not only still has to continue living like this, but like he'll never forget these experiences. Like, no matter how, like, he could be like a 5-star general for all I care, and like it still won't like get rid of any of the bad experiences he's had throughout like his many major conflicts. Like when he's talking about like how like
he'll never forget the inoculated children.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that, like, when he had to like cut off like a lot of the arms of like the children or whatever. It's like, you can't forget about that shit. That shit sticks with you. And I'm sure that in of itself is also a reference to Heart of Darkness, because that's what happened with I don't know if you guys read this book. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. It's called King Leopold's Ghost. Yeah, it's like basically like a deep insight into like how like the Belgian colony of the Congo like was run, and how like children's like arms would be cut off if they didn't bring back enough rubber or some shit like that. It's really fucking terrifying, and I highly recommend reading the book. But it felt like a reference to that.
It's like, despite how like insane that he's gone, there's also like he's reached a point where he has a clarity inside of his insaneness, where he's able to kind of confront that, like, the reality really of like what the war is and what it's doing to him. But it's like he has no life beyond like this war at any point, so he's just kind of committed to it with his cult-like army, kind of crossing into Cambodia, like doing what he wants to do, because it's like it's consumed him. Like, he can't do anything else, even though he hates this war. Like, he despises this war with a passion, but it's like the only thing he knows. And he just like, he's clung to some, maybe he doesn't even know it, maybe he just knows that it's bullshit, that like that he would be able to go home if he just like won the war single-handedly. So it's like he's stuck in like a limbo between like as he kind of says, walking along the edge of a straight razor. That's basically how he lives.
In a way, he's
that's
kind
his
of
dream,
like...
and it's his nightmare.
Yeah, in a way, he's kind of like the complete antithesis of Kilgore, because like Kilgore's like kind of the same character, where like he doesn't know how to do anything else, and he doesn't know like, and like this is
Yeah,
like his peak.
exactly.
But he's also like, but he like takes it in a different way, where like he gleefully indulges in like the chaos and the violence of war, and like he's sad not because like there's like terrible shit happening, but more because like he doesn't know how to do anything else. Like he doesn't want the war to end because this is where he feels most at home, and like Kurtz is like kind of the same character, but in more of like a tortured soul type way, where he's like,
He's a
I hate this
classical.
war.
He's a poet warrior in the classical sense.
Yeah, like I hate this war, and I don't, and I want to like stop. I just want to be happy, but I can't because this is the only thing I know how to do, and this is all I've ever known like throughout my life. It's just, it's really traumatizing. It's really sad, you
It's
know. So,
consuming.
which is why, like,
And
yeah,
that's
which is
also
why, like,
the comparisons with the Robert Duvall character Kilgore is like, it's also like a great example of like why I think it works best when you don't really like see him or know about him, because they stress at like the beginning of the film like, oh, his methods are unsound and like he's, you know, killed people
crazy.
without reason. He's crazy. And then you go to see like Kilgore, and it's like, oh, he's just basically like, he's doing the same thing, and like he takes glee in like chaos and like destruction and stuff, and like he's sad when he feels like the war is going to end. So you feel like you're seeing what Kurtz should be, but then he's not. In like, because it's in fact like once you get to like the Kurtz compound, it's like basically since it's the calmest that the movie has ever been, like at any point, where it's like suddenly like all the like the really like scary music has like stopped, and it's just like you're kind of being like guided through this place, like lifted off your feet, carried through, and then you kind of come face to face with like this person. It's just like they're just kind of sat in the shadows, like on their bed, basically just kind of overweight, and they're not like, and all these like weird people are around them, and it's like but it's also like they're Americans, and they're Cambodians and Viet Cong and North Vietnamese and South Vietnamese, and like they're all kind of living in this like matrimony, this unitedness, which is like the first time we've ever seen that in the film. But they kind of exist in this weird state where they're all kind of extensions of like Kurtz himself. They're his children, as they say in the film. And that's in a weird way that the Dennis Hopper character is kind of an observer rather than one of the children, because like he obviously like talks a lot. He's like, he worships Kurtz, so he's kind of like, he's like the fool between like Willard and Kurtz to like kind of show him the path basically to kill him, because the end of the movie is like it's cut between like him killing him and like the sacrifice of a like a water buffalo, which was a real water buffalo, by the way. Like
yeah,
what you see on screen is like a real water buffalo being killed.
Yeah, I heard that was for real, which made me very depressed. So
Yeah.
that was a bit. Oh god. So it's like he's basically being touted like willingly as the sacrificial buffalo to kill him. And Willard wants to kill him because he clings onto this idea that like, once I do this, like I will be free of all of this pain. But really it's just like, once he does that, he's just, Kurtz's pain is only transferred into him, and he only becomes worse, and he's only more haunted by it. And that's why he tries to leave the compound to try and escape it, but like there is no fucking escaping that shit. Like that shit's gonna haunt him. Kurtz is like a part of him now. That's why like you hear like in the voiceover at the end, it's just like the repeating line of the horror, the horror, the horror. It's like that's the sacrifice.
That horror has been transmitted onto him.
Yeah,
now.
It makes
it's
sense
almost
why
ritualistic in a way. Like
it makes sense why Kurtz
was just like waiting for him to do it. Like
like Kurtz wanted him to do it because like partly what all the stuff you said, but also
because
partly
it's the only way
he
he could properly escape.
Yeah, like, because he just didn't want to deal with this shit anymore. He didn't want to live anymore. So it's like, yeah, just kill me, man. It's like, it's really sad and depressing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's like he's been driven to the edge, and it's like. That
being said, the
whole.
Sorry, finish your point.
Yeah, you go ahead.
No, finish your point. Yeah, because I'm gonna move on to something else real quick.
Yeah, because like the whole kind of point of the film, like, I know people put this in, like, as people generally regard this as a war film. I don't. I think the war is only used as a tool to amplify, like, the kind of, like, what the film is trying to say, basically, is just, like, how close to madness each and every one of us, like, really is. Like, we are all kind of walking along that, like, that straight razor, like, between nightmare and dreams. But, like, Kurtz only goes mad, but has that clarity because he recognizes it, because he realizes how close we all are. And the war is used to amplify that, because that's when we're at, like, a really, like, heightened sense of a primal nature. So it's, like, it feels like it could, like, come at, like, a moment's, like, breath, like, at any moment. Like, if you think of, like, the bit where, the bit that ends with, like, Chief being killed, where it's like the sound design is, like, amazing, where it's like everyone is, like, yelling at once, and, like, it's just, like, gunfire going off from, like, Mr. Clean, just, like, firing off his, like, AK just, like, mindlessly, and, like, the boat engine is getting louder, and, like, the strings are getting louder, and it's, like, it's just brimming to, like, this one moment where then suddenly it just goes silent, like, all of it cuts out, and it's just, like, and then it's, like, Chief has been killed by the spear. It's, like, it does remind me, I wonder if, how much inspiration he took from that was from, like, the way Eraserhead uses sound design.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Yes, it's like,
I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a good scene. Yeah, I really did like that.
it's such a good scene. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like they're all kind of, like, tasting. They're all, like, within one interaction, within, like, one thing of all being mad, like Chef with the tiger and stuff, like that a moment is enough to, like, kind of just drive him off the edge.
It's like a lot of, like, different things for a lot of characters, because I love
Yeah,
like when Chief orders Chef to, like, investigate, like, the fishing boat or whatever, like, they're not doing anything wrong, like, they're just, like, they just want to get out of here, but, like, when they investigate the box, and, like, the woman says please don't, like, they immediately just go, like, they just go guns blazing, and they only realize that, like, afterwards they're like, oh, like, she was just going after a dog, like, well, whatever, like, they're not even, like they don't feel apologetic for what they did. They just were like, oh, okay, whatever. Like,
Yeah. And neither does Willard when they're just like, oh, she's still alive, and then Willard's like, no, she's not. Like,
yeah,
we need to move on. Like, and that means nothing to him. Like, he's like, I don't know how many people, I don't even remember how many people that I killed.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff, with all that stuff. Yeah, like I said, I will say, though, just going back briefly to the Dennis Hopper character, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of his character. I understand, I guess, his purpose based on everything that you said, but I still feel like, for me, it would be more impactful if it was just purely just this, like, one-way conversation between Kurtz and Willard. Like, it would make, like, all those moments much more powerful, and to me it kept getting interrupted by, like, these random bullshit, like, annoying moments of, like, the Dennis Hopper characters just be like, he's just a genius, man. Like, he just knows what he's saying, man. He's, like, sometimes crazy, but he's like, he told me to, like, if you take a picture again, blah blah blah. It's like, I was like, oh god, like, Jesus. Like, I guess I kind of understand what you're saying about his, like, role in the story, but, like, I still feel like for me, I just think that, like, if it was just continually this conversation with Willard and Kurtz, and, like, seeing them morph into this one blob of a person, like, it would be more impactful for me. But because it's constantly being interrupted by, like, Dennis Hopper's bullshit, like, I just, like, kind of get annoyed, like, by those moments. But that's just me. Like, it's just a personal preference for my taste. Yeah, I get, like, they're annoyed too. I get, like, that's his purpose. Like, he's supposed to be annoying, but, like, still, I would prefer that, just, like, that singular focus of Kurtz and Willard together, instead of, like, all this extra shit with Dennis Hopper's character. I honestly forgot his character's name. I don't remember what it was.
Well, they don't ever say his character's name.
Oh, he doesn't? Okay.
He's just referred to as, they just call him the photojournalist in the credits.
Okay. Yeah, so Uh, were you ever bugged by the fact that they use lightsaber noises in the bridge scene of the bombed bridge scene?
I don't care.
Like they use like lightsaber noises, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like that genuinely took me out of the movie
Yeah.
for a second. I was like, "Why is there, why is there lightsaber noises?"
Yeah, well, better use
Oh,
of
well.
lightsaber noises, honestly. They
Than,
call
like,
them the
most modern
apocalypse
Star
now
Wars
noises,
movies.
not the.
I didn't notice the lightsaber noises, so
Yeah, I was like, that genuinely took me out of the movie. I was like, "What the?" Like, so,
I know how you feel because me being a Jurassic Park nerd, I notice every single other time a movie uses like a sound effect from Jurassic Park, and it's way more often than you would
oh really?
think.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it is rarely common.
Doesn't Lord of the Rings use one?
Yeah. Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Was it? Which one?
I know the remake Star Wars. Lord of the Rings. I think it uses like one of the
The
T-Rex
T-Rex roars in the
ones.
cave troll scene.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Like it's never something that I like can pick up on. Like I never remember the scene, but like when I hear the sound effect, I'm like, that's from Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like it's just like it's just in my mind. It's like, oh yeah, that's from Jurassic Park, and it's only for Jurassic Park that I can pick it up on because I've seen that movie a million times.
Yeah, I just,
But yeah,
I just, I don't know. So that was just like, maybe it's, like, see, I wouldn't have picked up the Jurassic Park thing because I feel like everything just sounds like a giant dinosaur, like, roaring or whatever, but, like, that was, like, so distinctly a lightsaber noise that I was like, there's no way. Like, I could, anyone could have picked that up. I was just like, I know this sounds like
Princess
a nitpick, but it
Mononoke.
genuinely...
Princess Mononoke used a sound effect, a water sound effect that was later used in Minecraft, so that kind of took me out of the movie when I
Oh, really?
rewatched
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Hang on,
That's so
let me find
funny.
that scene, actually. I want to send that to you.
One other, like, minor flaw that I had, I thought, like, the way that I thought Chiefs' death was, like, kind of cheesy. Like, wait, like, I was just like, what the, like, he's just like, a spear, and then he just like collapses, and I was like, that was kind of dumb, but you know, whatever. But I
like
liked.
that.
Oh, you know what's one of the big? Sorry.
No,
I was gonna say I like that scene
that
because like the kind of like the when they're getting like shot at by like basically like little toy arrows, and it's just like they're freaking out over nothing, and then by the time they've realized that, then it's just like they've kind of provoked something where like a very real weapon is like now then
spear.
used against them, and it's just like they're
I
then
get
they're
that,
shocked. They're like, what? Like why would this happen?
This isn't a toy.
Like he's like
Yeah.
genuinely shocked. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's just still like the actual like execution of that death scene. I was just like, that was kind of stupid. That was kind of cheesy, but whatever. But I did like he like tried to choke Willard like after, because you could see like his seething rage. Just like, you're the one who got us into this. Like this is your mess. Like you're responsible for all of our deaths and stuff. Like this is really like the second time we've recommended a movie where a person lying down is choking another person. Like it's just a really weird coincidence. So
In
a row. It's like
Yeah.
I'm a bit skeptical. I'm starting to think you did that on purpose. Be like, ooh, a scene where a person is lying down and they're getting
you
choked.
found me.
We're gonna do that
You
again.
got me.
I feel like there's been way more
No, I'm
movies
joking.
where this
I'm
has
joking,
happened. It's
obviously.
not only
I'm
these
joking,
two.
obviously, but I just thought that
No, I mean for the podcast. There's like there's gotta be more.
I feel like there is.
Like that happens in The Descent.
Didn't that happen in
That happens
Yeah.
in
Did that
The
happen
Descent.
in Nocturnal Animals as well?
Yeah, that did.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been.
There's definitely one in The
The
Climb.
moral of the story is we like choking and we want to see more of it. We like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does
Have you guys
this
watched,
rank?
yeah, what
Sorry.
were you
Yeah, go
saying?
ahead. No, I was just gonna say a stupid joke that wasn't even that funny. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say, have you guys have either of you guys seen Aguirre the Wrath of God? Directed by
I've not, but
Werner
I want to watch it at some
No,
point.
you know
Yeah.
I haven't, because you've asked me.
Oh yeah, I did ask you a while ago. Yeah, because I'm gonna say, you guys know that this was like this took Coppola took lots and lots and lots and lots of inspiration from it.
Really, I wasn't aware of that.
Because that
that's
film's
interesting.
about Spanish conquistadors going down a river on rafts to find El Dorado, and it's kind of a descent into madness as well. So,
Wow, okay.
So and if you wanted, that's why that's kind of to go back to the Willard character. I think that's kind of what I refer to as the thing that he's searching for throughout that's why he kind of takes the mission basically, or what he's aiming for to get out of the mission. He's trying to find his own El Dorado basically, a way to escape and feel human again. But then there's no El Dorado at the end of the river. There's only hell. Yeah. Oh my god.
Moral of the story
it's
is
it's such a
The road to...
it's such a scary film. It's a genuinely really scary film to me.
yeah. Honestly, after
the road to
after-
the hell...
after End of Ava, I'm just so desensitized by any sort of nightmarish horror-esque movies now. It's just everything is just so fucking sad and depressing. It's
Oh, so I can recommend whatever I want?
yeah, if you recommend a happy and upbeat movie, I'll be what are these emotions that I'm feeling that I haven't felt in so long?
The road to Hell Dorado. There we go. That's what I was trying to
God,
say.
that took you a long time.
I have trouble speaking sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I've said everything
yeah.
I wanted to say about the movie. It's great. Unless I'm sure if anyone else wants to say anything else, go ahead.
Do we want to talk about
the
performances quickly?
I mean, yeah, they're great.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, because obviously, I think Marlon Brando does the best job.
I don't know. I think I like.
I was gonna
Martin
say
Sheen
I
the
think
best.
Martin Sheen gave the slightly better performance than Marlon Brando, but that's just me. That's just
Well,
purely
he's kind
because
of-
he's I think has a lot more to work with because he has a lot more things to do. Not in terms of plot or anything, more just you think about that opening where he's wailing around drunk and punching a mirror, and then you could just contrast that with other scenes where he's just very stoic and quiet while he's observing all this Vietnam War shit, and then you just contrast that with his descent into madness when he screams when Chef's head is plotted on top of his laps or whatever his lap or whatever, and then
I mean, you
when he,
would
comes
scream
out of the
even if
water
you were
and
a
stuff.
normal person.
Well, no, I know, but I'm just saying all I'm saying is Martin Sheen just has a lot more to do within the film, which is why I think he gives the slightly better performance than Marlon Brando.
I mean, I don't think there's a single weak performance in this. I think everyone is perfectly cast, so good.
I agree.
Even
Yeah.
especially Robert Duvall got a supporting actor nomination, even though he's only in this for 15 minutes, just because he's just so memorable and so good.
Yeah,
and,
he's he's
Lawrence
incredible.
Fishburne's great. Sam Bottoms is great. The late Frederick
think that-
Forrest was great.
To think that Lawrence Fishburne was only 14 when he started this working on the film, I think
but
is
he was
insane.
18 when it came out.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. That's insane.
Even the guy who says terminate with extreme prejudice, even he's that one line is really delivered really well. A perfect film from beginning to end. Just how close everyone is, especially in war, to just falling off the edge, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows how hell can consume you, and then how that becomes
it's
more,
not. It's. I'm sorry. This is gonna sound really corny and pun but it's it's not a coming apocalypse. It's an apocalypse that's here now. We're living in it.
Yeah,
Now.
now is the
now is the
apocalypse.
apocalypse. Did you guys catch when that was actually when you
I
could
saw
see
that.
that line
I was-
in the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a Family Guy moment where it's oh, he said the thing. He said the title
You
of the
had
movie or
to- you had
whatever.
to- you had like a Leonardo DiCaprio moment.
I'm very keen to not just rewatch this film, but also check out the other because like I did like this enough where I would be interested to seeing the other versions of the film, even though I know they're probably not going to be very good and not be as good as this version of the film.
Final cut is
but
good.
like, yeah, but I still like.
I'm sure
I
they'll be
still
good still.
Yeah, I mean it's like a perfect movie, so they'll still be good.
Yeah. But I'm keen to rewatch this because I feel like I'm gonna have like a similar experience to this as I did with something like, say, Full Metal Jacket. Because like Full Metal Jacket was another movie where I was like, I guess I liked this, but like I don't really know how much I like this. Like I'm like kind of undecided. But then when I watched it the second and third time, I was like, oh wait, hell yeah, this is awesome. I really love this film.
Yeah.
So this is probably going to be a similar type of experience. So I'm very keen on rewatching this at some point. So yeah,
I can watch this
I don't know.
day. I think I've seen it God knows how many times.
I mean, yeah, it's one of your favorite movies, of course. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're getting into ratings, I'd say like an 8 out of 10, but it's like very high 8. Like it could be a 9 in like a future rewatch, but I'll stick with an 8. I think that's a appropriate score. And Hearts of Darkness is Hearts of Darkness is also an 8 because I think like for me the making the behind the scenes making of the movie is just as interesting as the actual like movie itself. So like yeah, I also gave that an 8. So they're both an 8 out of 10.
Absolutely. Apocalypse Now, 10 out of 10 out of 10. Just 11 out of 10, 100 out of 10. Amazing. It's in my top 4. It's like one of the best films ever made, like period. Coppola is a genius. I have a lot of admiration for him. I like him a lot, so that's why I'm gonna give Hearts of Darkness also a 10 out of 10. A brilliant documentary on its own, even without the added context of being about one of my favorite movies. Like just really well edited. Actually, did I tell you guys I have a book of all of Eleanor Coppola's diary entries that I found in like a really like backwater like rural bookstore.
Oh, you haven't, but
on like an Australian highway. Yeah, that was a great find.
That's so
Do you guys
funny.
know? I don't know if they mentioned this in Hearts of Darkness, but that Steve McQueen was going to play Kurtz at one point. That was one of the people that Coppola asked.
That is wild. Yeah, because I heard like the other alternatives.
I don't know how
like,
good that would have been, because like Steve
Steve
McQueen's I don't think is that kind of like actor, even though I think he's a fantastic actor.
I think like the alternatives that you mentioned, I would have loved to have seen their takes on it because they mentioned like Jack Nicholson was also like in consideration. Like Al Pacino, I think Al Pacino's like too young for a role like this. If I'm being honest, like because like Al Pacino was like still a baby at the time. Like The Godfather was only like a couple years before this, so I don't think I would have seen Al Pacino.
It was like almost 10 years at that point.
Was it? Okay, then I feel like my sense of time is just fucked. So hold on.
This was like about the time that he did like Cruising and stuff.
Oh, was it? Okay, I didn't know that. Wait, when was The Godfather? Godfather was 1972.
1971.
Apocalypse
Now. 72.
79. So like, okay, 7 years. Okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, Luca, your ratings?
Hearts of Darkness, a 8 out of 10. I think it's a great docu. But I will admit that I think it is kind of carried by just the insane story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole reason why the documentary
You would not watch this documentary if you didn't care about Apocalypse Now.
But nonetheless, it's still a great documentary. And then Apocalypse Now is almost perfect to me. I don't think it like quite breaches the 10 out of 10 mark, but I still rarely appreciate the film, and I think it's truly amazing. I think it's Coppola's best, a solid high 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah. Anyway.
I
We
feel like
made
I
it all
only
the way
scratched the
in.
surface in all the stuff I talked about. I feel like I could just talk about that thing for hours.
Yeah, I just think that like we're just gonna we've reached. I think like the Ava discussion we've had last time just made me realize we're never gonna talk about everything that we want to when it comes to these. Like these podcast episodes last like 2.5 hours long, and that is still not enough time to talk about everything we want to talk about. So
Well, we can extend to 4 hours then.
Maybe if you didn't talk about mid.
Yeah,
for so long, like then.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about that. I got everything I wanted to say about that too. And
I
even
know,
even
I'm
then, I
joking.
didn't.
This has been a big Jules episode.
Yeah, I know. I've been
episode.
talking like crazy.
I'm happy to take a back seat because I just feel bad when I'm like talking all the time. So, but anyway,
I get to be Timmy for once.
Yeah, maybe you should just
Yeah.
stop doing it. No, I'm joking.
Anyway, Luca, just tell
Of
us
course
what we're
I'm
gonna watch
joking.
next time, and let's get out of here.
Okay, where do I even start with this recommendation? Okay, considering that we have had two not pretty heavy streaks of recommendations, very
Nocturnal Animals as well.
morbid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a pretty heavy run, and I think we need something chilled, something lighthearted, and maybe I will be breaking my streak of recommending only good movies on this
God.
podcast.
No.
I don't know what-
But
I can't imagine what a bad movie from Luca sounds like.
But I was reminded of this movie the other day, and I was like, I also have a lot of work to do. Like let's just throw on this childhood banger. This is an animated movie from 2010, and
Oh God.
the movie that I'm recommending is called Lego: The Adventures of Clutch Powers.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I never have heard of this movie. Lego the what?
What? Have you not heard of it? Lego: The Adventures of Clutch Powers.
Jesus Christ. This.
Oh my fucking god. Apocalypse Now
The first
followed up
official-
by Clutch Powers. You fucking kidding me?
Jesus fucking Christ.
What a legendary
I feel
lineup.
like
I
recommend
just
a lot
beat
of-
my chair, the other side of my chair, and I think I just woke up my whole family.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of
What do you
disappointed
mean?
because
Clutch Powers is a classic.
like this is worse to me than like. Actually, no. Bone Alone was like worse than this shit, but this is like worse than like when I did Southland Tales and all.
No,
this
I'll
other-
watch Clutch
and, like,
Powers
Tales,
any day.
Tales of Earthsea.
Nah, Clutch Powers is a classic to me. You haven't even
I've
seen
never
it,
heard of
so
this,
you
so
can't say
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this like?
Okay, this is a childhood
I was really
banger
hoping this was at
for
least
me.
like in the same.
I don't know about you,
I was really
Jules.
hoping this was at least in the same style as the Lego Movie, but this looks like the most straight to DVD bullshit ever. Okay,
Okay, I was feeling silly. I was in a silly mood. I'm also sick and I have a lot of work to do, so I can't put too much attention.
at least it's a
onto
short
things.
movie. Like,
So
thank
I
God.
was
Like, it's only
why
81 minutes.
not?
Like, if this was like another like 3+ hour movie, I don't think I would have been able to deal with that. So, yeah.
Exactly. I wanted something short. I wanted something sweet. Jules, I couldn't tell if you were excited or disappointed about this recommendation.
I don't know. I feel like I'm a mix of both. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know what I should be expecting, but I don't know. I guess this is weird. I've
Maybe
never
I'm just
thought I would ever
disappointed
expect
that
it.
there was no alternative or something. I don't know.
Yeah, when you
I
said
was expecting
2010
something
animated
else.
movie,
Okay,
I was
I'll
really,
give it an alternative. We can do another 2010.
No.
animated
We're
movie.
just
it's
stuck.
fine.
We're locked into
yeah,
this
we're
now.
already stuck with it. Yeah, you already said it. We're already locked in. We might as well. So, Yeah, well, I guess if you don't want to be spoiled for Lego: The Adventures of Clutch Powers, directed by Howard E. Baker.
Directed by Mike Penis.
Yeah, directed by Mike Penis, then watch it, because we're gonna spoil... Can you even spoil this film?
E. Baker. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm looking at...
Yeah, like this movie's crazy. Like there's like mad spoilers.
I'm looking at this
like...
director's other movies, and I feel he's directed a bunch of fake movies that I've never heard of before, called The Reef, Unstable Fables, Three Pigs and a Baby, Unstable Fables, Tortoise versus Hare, Lego Hero Factory Savage Planet, and Unstable Fables, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Like, these are a bunch of, like, fake movies that I've never heard of
He's done
before.
Angry Birds 4D Experience.
Well...
You guys aren't ready for
I
this
guess
movie.
not, so... Alright, well, I guess that's it. We'll
Great.
talk about this Lego movie next time.
Woo! Let's
Alright.
go! Yeah, clutch powers!
Yeah, alright.
Yeah!
Alright, bye everyone.
And I'll clutch your powers next time.
Clutch powers.
Bye.
Bye.